And welcome to the fifth annual Micro Four Thirds Photography Online Meetup. Wow, that's a mouthful. I'm so happy to have many of the guests today that have been with Micro Four Thirds for a long time and have been supportive of my channel and all of you as well through all the years. And I can't believe another year's passed since the last one, and so much has happened. And I think that's such a great thing because we've all been so busy enjoying our craft and all of the things that have been happening with the Micro Four Thirds community and the industry as a whole. I haven't been more positive about Micro Four Thirds than I have now in the past. And that's why I want to bring everyone together again this year and share that enthusiasm and excitement of all the things that have been going on, and also share with you uh, also some more photography type related experiences. Um, because it's not just about the gear, right? It's also about the craft, and I think that's ultimately why we all come together, is to talk about something that we love and enjoy. So with that said, I want to bring on my very special guest today. And I think most of you know them, but I'm going to ask them to uh, introduce themselves and tell us a little bit about themselves in case maybe they're new to you. So let's see. There's Emilie and Peter. All right. Hey, everybody. How's everybody doing?
Hello.
Good to see everyone.
Hey, what's
Awesome.
up? We had a full house. Full house.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yay!
yes. Oh, yes.
Okay. So, Robin, let's start with you because I have you up in the top corner. I don't have anybody in any particular order, but tell us a little bit about yourself and maybe something we should know about you that maybe we don't know already.
Hi, my name is Robin Wong. I'm a photographer from Kuala Lumpur. I think photography is for everyone. Even if you are not a professional photographer, anyone is free to pick up a camera, go out and have fun. That's what photography is all about.
All right. Thanks. And Emily, tell us about yourself.
Hi, I'm Emily. My channel is Microphone Nerds because I am a complete and utter camera nerd. I have a particular passion for very tiny portable cameras, and my thing is sort of trying to have a camera on me every day and trying to sort of capture the mundane for my own memories and just to be creative in those little pockets of time where, you might not be doing anything important and finding some interesting compositions.
Nice. Nice. And Emily, whenever I watch your videos, and you and Robin, I really put together in this sense that you're like the happiest people on earth. It's always your enthusiasm and excitement and the fun that you have with photography is contagious. And I always want to just grab my camera and go out and shoot whenever I have to watch one of your videos.
That's awesome.
That's
like
just
that.
because photography is fun.
It's the
Yes.
best.
Yes. Okay, Peter, how are you? Tell us about yourself. And
Hello, I'm Peter, and I have a YouTube channel that is my own name, and then also an OM system ambassador, and been a professional photographer since 1989. So I've done a few photographs in my career, and I totally agree with Robin that you should have fun, and it's not about being a professional; it's about having fun when you're photographing. And I think it's all the things that are happening. I think it has been the best time in the world to be a photographer all these years, because there's been so many good things happening around the whole thing.
absolutely. Absolutely. There's that's really a great way to put it. Is really no better time to be a photographer than now because of everything that we have available to us.
Oh yeah. Well, I started with film, like most of us probably did. Then you got digital, and then now there is AI. So we like three different phases that's been going on,
Yes.
and I don't know if I could ever see what's the fourth big thing's going to be. That remains to be seen.
Yeah. Yeah. And Jimmy, how are you? Tell us about yourself. What's going on?
Thank you, and I'm very well. Yeah, thank you for having me. My name is Jimmy Cheng. I'm a London-based photographer and filmmaker. I don't want to reveal my age, so I won't say when I started my photography, but but I have been
Jimmy,
around.
you're
But
old.
like Pete, Just like Peter, I started with film as well, and so you can kind of guess where I am, or when I started photography. And yeah, we just had a little bit of a camera nerd talks earlier, just showcasing all the film cameras earlier. But anyway,
Right.
yeah. So my channel is all about micro four thirds and photography, and once again, I had to echo the same message. There is no better time to start your photography. In fact, videography, filmmaking, because every camera you buy these days are very capable. It's enable you to do something that we can't do when we started photography, back in the film days. And even though it may sound fairly expensive to start digital photography by comparison, but in terms of running costs, you can't compare film these days. It costs you about £20 a roll in the UK just to get a roll of film. And
Right.
that's only 36 exposure. Now you can just plonk a SD card and it shoot thousands and non-stops. And yeah, so it's a great time to start being creative in photography and filmmaking. I think it's actually a very good time.
Absolutely. And I think that's why older people take more pictures, is because we can't believe it's free.
That's starting to show my age. I don't want to say that.
But okay, Maddie, how are you? Good to see you again. Tell us about yourself and something we should know.
Good to be here. Thanks for having me. I'm good. My name is Matti Sulanto. I'm a photographer, normally based in Helsinki, Finland, like good Peter. Currently, I'm in Thailand, and I've been a photographer for a long, long time, and I have a long commercial career behind me. But today, I'm not doing any paid assignments. I'm just enjoying photography, and I'm trying to share what I know and try to share the fun of photography on my channel. I believe there's a link down below. Check it out.
Yes, yes. There are links to everyone's channel down below. If they're new to you, I highly recommend you check everyone out. They're all terrific photographers. And the Emilie T here, I'm going to call her Emilie T, or she told me to call her ET, but
Why not?
but she's a new guest this year and started a new channel, and I'm very excited to have you with us today. So of everyone
Yeah.
here, I think we need to know more about you and your message for our viewers.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited because I've been watching all of your channels. I'm a huge fan, so I'm a little bit intimidated to be here. And I thank you so much for having me over. It's been a very amazing adventure. I'm actually fairly new to photography, but that doesn't reflect my age. I'm actually not that young. And
You look
I-
young. That's what matters.
I'm hiding all the gray hair right here.
Oh, wow.
I'm hiding no hair.
Yeah, if you watch our channels from 5 or 6 years ago and compare them today, I feel like I'm the one that's aged the most.
It's because you're giving so much to the community, That's
No.
why. But
It's my dog, but I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, I was going to say I'm an OM system ambassador. So I've been an OM system ambassador for a year. I actually was part of the Break Free program that Olympus at the time started. And they picked 10 photographers, and it was just an amazing experience. They gave us gear. They gave us a mentor. My mentor was Lowrey, who is an OM system ambassador. I learned so much, and I was very, very lucky to be invited back, as an ambassador. And I started with a different brand, not Olympus, and when I got my first Olympus camera, my photography just took off. Why? Because I had fun. And I think that's the message from today. It's just, if you have a camera in your hand and you're having fun, that's how you're progressing. And I also started my own YouTube channel because I want to give back to the community, because that community, that Micro Four Thirds community, that OM system community gave me so much, and I wouldn't be there, without all of you guys. So it's true.
Well, we're
It's-
we're very happy and honored to have you here with us, because you're an amazing photographer. I really liked your macro work and your little eye drop things, and congratulations on the OM ambassador status there, because it's a big deal. I mean, you know, they don't just invite anyone. And I think, oh, I'm having a brain fart.
You know, when I received the email, I thought, oh, they made a mistake, so I better reply pretty fast.
No, and I should say that there's so many more people I wanted to have on the channel, or at least with part of the stream today. And I'm sorry I couldn't invite everyone, but I can just barely manage the 6 that are here now. So, that's one of the exciting things about all of the, at least on YouTube, there's so many new photographers coming online and giving back to the Micro Four Thirds community, or maybe they're discovering Micro Four Thirds for the first time and sharing their excitement, enthusiasm for the format. And because I said this before we started the stream, is that I feel like we have so many choices. You know, we have some very small sensor cameras like our TG5s in that class, and cell phones, all the way up to full frame, medium format, and films making a little resurgence. But I feel like Micro Four Thirds is kind of that sweet spot, at least for me, in terms of, you know, the functionality of it, just the practicality of taking photos with very few compromises in quality, but a lot of gains for the size and weight, I think, of the overall system. But all the systems have gotten relatively compact now, so we have some great choices across all formats. But I think for most of us right now, it's about the photography and not so much the gear. But as being a Micro Four Thirds community, I wanted to get your opinions on what you think the current state of Micro Four Thirds is, and what you think the future for Micro Four Thirds is. Because I'm very excited with all the new releases of lenses and cameras that have come out this past year. They sort of reinforce, I think, the strength of the Micro Four Thirds system. But let's start with you, Robin. Let me get your opinion on what do you think about the current state and future for Micro Four Thirds.
I have actually always said in some of my videos that I believe Micro Four Thirds is the future. And in terms of size to performance, we get a lot. And it just makes sense that we can produce a lot more of smaller products, and more people can enjoy photography without carrying huge and heavy gear. I can see OM system, I can see Panasonic to continue making more and more amazing products for us. I don't think that's going to stop. And even currently we have an amazing lineup of products already, cameras, yes, lenses. We are not lacking options. Currently, what I want to see more happening is perhaps more closer collaboration between Panasonic and OM Digital Solutions. I don't know if that's possible. That would really open up more opportunities. But, you know, I just want to share a few more things. Like, I have been shooting with Micro Four Thirds for 6-7 years now, and even more intensively in the past 5 years, 4 or 5 years. And even now, today, having used this 45 f1.8 for so many times now, even I've used this so much. Even last week, I've just had a shoot. I come back and look at the photographs, and I was like, oh my goodness, the images from this lens is just so amazing. I am still impressed with these lenses, like the 12 to 40 from Olympus. I'm still impressed with what these lenses can do. And that says a lot, having used them for so many years. So yes, there's a place for Micro Four Thirds. I don't think Micro Four Thirds is going anywhere. And I do want to see Micro Four Thirds succeed.
Awesome. And it's funny you should talk about the 45, because this is a lens I plan to go out shooting with today, because again, it's so impressive, you know, for its size. You know, you just wouldn't expect that out of such a tiny system.
Yes.
But it just the results are amazing. So tell us, Emilie, how do you feel about the current state of Micro Four Thirds, and what do you feel about the future?
I think it's very exciting. I was lucky enough to go to Tokyo with Lumix last year for the launch of the S5 Mark II, and I found myself in a room full of Lumix engineers, and I was picking everyone's brain, and I was like, blink one if we're going to get like a G9 Mark II. Somebody tell me something. And everyone was very tight-lipped, but I did get the impression the overall thing was like, we've got phase detect autofocus, we've got things like real-time LUT and new innovation. It just makes sense from a business point of view to bring that further down the line and maybe get in a GH6 Mark II, a G9 Mark II. And maybe for me, what I really want is a tiny camera, but a refreshed version of maybe like a GM1, something that's very portable and fun and has all of that lovely technology in. So yeah, I don't know anything official, but I feel like it makes sense for things to progress, and that's a very exciting prospect for me.
Yes, absolutely. I would love to see a G9 Mark II. That would be
For
awesome.
wildlife, particularly in sports and things, it'd be so good.
Yeah, I still shop for the G9. You know, it's been on my short list for a long time, but
It's just not going down in price, is it? I want one as well.
I know. I'm like, I just looked at one. They still want $800 for it used, and I'm like,
Yep.
oh, come on.
That's a sign that everyone who's bought one isn't selling it because it's so good.
Exactly. And so thank you, Emily. So tell me, Peter, how do you feel about the current state of Micro Four Thirds, and what do you look forward to in the future?
Well, I think the state is pretty good. There's been some amazing products and cameras coming out the past year, and I think it's doing well. And like we talked before the live stream, there are a lot of more people buying Micro Four Thirds and Panasonic and OM system cameras, which is of course a good thing. There is a good option for many photographers, and what I especially like is the way OMDS is now behaving in kind of like inside. Of course, I'm not working for them, but been really close with them, and it's like a startup. The enthusiasm inside that company is interesting, and it's totally different than the Olympus atmosphere, or because Olympus was a dinosaur, and now this is more like a startup, and it's interesting, and the enthusiasm is there. So that's why I see that it's really a bright future. And of course, there's one particular camera that I would like, that we probably many of you will agree is the 10F Mark II. That would be awesome with the newest technology. For that would be some kind of a hero camera that would be totally out of their current genre that they are targeting. That would be really something that I would probably pre-order it before it was able to be pre-ordered, that camera, because that would be perfect.
I know, and I know there's some photographers that have left Micro Four Thirds because they got tired of waiting for the Pen F2.
Yeah.
But I definitely see that OM Systems definitely has a very different feel to it. I think their dedication to educating photographers with their live streams worldwide, you know, not just in English but in all these different languages, shows that commitment to help the Micro Four Thirds community. And that's the biggest change I've seen, because before that, you know, they would just do product launches and things on their channel and a few promos, but that was about it. But now, you know, every week, it seems, a couple of times a week, they're out there answering questions and providing information and really trying to interact with the community. And that's a huge step forward, in my opinion.
I think exactly.
Yeah. So Jimmy, how are you? So how do you feel about the current state and future?
It's very good, very exciting, and I think the future is even more. I can't use the word more than just exciting, isn't it? I've used that twice already. So yes, it's a very exciting future, and I mean, after all these recent launches, and what I can see now is that they have set the tone what Micro Four Thirds is going to be. But what I can foresee is that they are going to go for the more niche developments in terms of bringing the product line more in line with what we should see, or how we should see perceive Micro Four Thirds equipment should be, i.e. Being small and compact. There are a lot of obviously discussions online already, and some of you really, if you're very active in the forums, you probably noticed that Panasonic has hinted about the GM1 replacement, and that's a tiny camera, and I know Emily, Robin got one. I have one myself as well, and it is an iconic development. Not so much technology. It's quite an old school dinosaur thing by comparison, but it is a tiny camera with a Micro Four Thirds sensors in it, and it's the size of a Sony RX. What's the compact camera? RX1? No,
RX100?
RX100. That's it. It's the size of that. I mean, I have RX100. I put it side by side. It's literally the same size, but the difference is you got a micro four thirds sensor, which is bigger, and you can change lenses on it. So that's amazing. You can still use all the massive 150 to 400 pro lenses on that tiny little camera. So that's how amazing that is. And so I can't wait for something similar along the line will come up from whichever, Panasonic or OM. But I totally agree with Rob and Peter as well about the Pen F2, because every time I post a picture on my Instagram on the Pen or the Pen F, people would always question the same thing: when is Pen F2 going to come out? It's almost like a default answer that everyone just basically type it in. That I really want a Pen F2. It really shows that everyone is waiting for one. So I think the demand is there for sure. And if OM does decide to make that happen, and I will be just like Peter, I'll be pre-ordering it without even a second thought. I just jump on it. Even without the latest OM1 sensor, even with the EM1 Mark III sensor, with all the IBIS and all the latest upgraded EVF, I'll be more than happy just to jump on it and get one, because it's such a really handy camera for street photography, for instance, and because the gripless body is also very pocketable, so you can just slot it into your coat pocket and just travel around without having to worry about size and bulk as well. So it's actually a really, really cool thing.
Yes. I think, like you said, if we all held a poll on our channels today, said Pen F2 or not, it would be overwhelming. I think Pen F2, right? If they're going to release another camera. But all right, thanks, Jimmy. Yeah, I'm with you on that one.
Yep.
So tell me, Matti, how are you doing? What do you think about the current state of Micro Four Thirds and its future?
Okay. First of all, I think it's pretty stable at the moment. Like Robin said, not going anywhere. And even if we never got any new products, it's not going to go anywhere anytime soon. It's already too big, the system, and too many users just for it to disappear all of a sudden or die, like many think to say. But I also think that when you look at the current camera market, it's not easy to attract new users, and because there are so many excellent cameras for attractive prices coming up all the time. And I think the OMD is a bit of a puzzle still, because we haven't seen any new products from them yet. Everything has been Olympus leftovers so far. Maybe the new macro is a new their product. It takes something like 18 to 36 months to develop a new lens from scratch. So it could be their own design. And the Panasonic new focus system is a big, great news, of course, because Panasonic makes great cameras, but the focus has been a little bit of a letdown, and it's been holding back their market share, I guess. And I'm pretty sure the new focusing system will boost their sales, and I hope.
So do you think the autofocus, the problem was with the photography side or just the video side, or was it really?
The real problem was in the video side, but because everyone complains about the focus, then people who want to buy a camera, they think that it's crap, so they don't buy the camera. They buy something else because everyone, for example, Olympus or OMDs, because everyone says that focus is great. So they are afraid to buy Panasonic because they think also the photo side focus is bad, even though it's not. It's really good for most purposes. Like I do a lot of street photography. It's really good for that.
Yeah.
But now that they have the face detect autofocus already in there in one of their cameras, and I'm sure, like Emilie said, it's gonna come up into these future Micro Four Thirds cameras too, and it's great news, and all the best for them, and all the best for all Micro Four Thirds in general.
Yeah, because unfortunately, the way marketing is now through YouTube, for everyone that gets these cameras, it's, as being content creators on YouTube, our lens is always through doing video, right? That's kind of our bias. And it kind of goes through, but and unfortunately on the photography side, you know, the autofocus system is really good. I've really had no problems with autofocusing with my Panasonic S5 for the photography, but in video I always manually focus. But yeah, but because content creators do a lot of you know, one-man band shops, they need that autofocus to work in video, and that's why I think it's overstated that the autofocus is not good on Panasonics, at least, you know, for the video side. And it as you said, it kind of bleeds into the photography side, unjustly so in my opinion, because the autofocusing has always been great on my Panasonics. But okay, so Emilie, tell me, what do you think about the current state of Micro Four Thirds, and what would you like to see for the future?
I think I'm like Peter, because so I'm part of the OM system family, and I've been feeling that enthusiasm, that energy that's going on. I mean, we just released the 90mm macro last week, and everybody is up. Like, I was up at 4 a.m. in the morning, and, you know, meeting with the community and sharing our thoughts. And I just, yeah, I think that this is going to be a really, really big year, especially for OM system, with the new release of the macro lens. And there was actually an amazing article that was written in Petapixel. I don't know if you guys have seen it. It came out, I think, on February 9, and Jaron Schneider is the one who wrote it, and the title is "Your Disdain for Macro Four Thirds is Misguided." You have to read it. It's just basically a love letter to Macro Four Thirds, saying that in Petapixel, they're seeing a lot of photos with the, you know, OM system Olympus name. And those photos right now is, I think, if I quote him right, the photos from the 90mm macro are some of the best photos he's seen this year. So people need to take Macro Four Thirds more seriously, because you can really produce some amazing photos. And I've seen that in the field too. When I'm out, when I'm traveling, even, you know, in Europe as well, I meet a lot of Macro Four Thirds users, and they're all very excited. We all kind of, you know, find each other. And that's not something that I've seen maybe with other brands. So it's like, oh yeah, you're OM system, and it's been fantastic. And I get a lot of questions about, I'm thinking of switching, and what do you recommend? And yeah, I really think that 2023 is going to be excellent.
Yeah, me too. I'm really excited, and I think to go back to Maddie's point about OMDS, you know, sort of, you know, finishing off where Olympus left off with the cameras that they've released. I'm curious to see something totally from scratch from OMDS, and by totally from scratch, that's not really fair to say either, because as we know, their factories and everything were all owned by Olympus before, and it's just under new ownership. And the new ownership, like I said earlier, is, I think, been doing an excellent job. So the current state, I think, is very, very strong. And from what I'm gathering from all of you, feel very good about the future, as do I, because all the new things that have come out. And I wanted to talk a little bit about that. You know, there's so many third-party lenses available now that are just really amazing. And I wanted to kind of go around and ask each of you a couple of things. You know, what's kind of your favorite recently released lens that's come out that you really like? And maybe your thoughts on some of the new cameras that have come out, the OM1, the OM5, and the GH6, which I think all three are really amazing cameras. And I'll go ahead and go back to the top there and start with Robin. Tell me what you think.
Hello again, everyone. My favorite product now for Micro Four Thirds is the 9mm Panasonic 9 f1.7. It's just amazing. My review will be coming out in a few days. I have spent the last few weeks shooting with this lens, not just for photography, but I've used this lens as my main vlogging lens for my second channel, where I just go around having lunch with friends, going to dinner with Matti Sulanto, hanging out, going to events. I've just attended a Leica exhibition in Malaysia, and I shot everything with this lens. This is just an amazing lens. Another lens which I think deserves a mention is the Laowa 6mm f2. So they sent me the lens. It was just on loan. I've returned the lens. I never get to keep it. Man, that lens is amazing. It's the widest Micro Four Thirds lens. It has bright aperture f2, very little distortion, very well corrected. I find almost no problem with the lens. It was priced really right.
Wow. So it's a rectilinear lens.
Yes, rectilinear 6mm f2. So if you do architecture, if you do astrophotography, if you need as much width as possible without too much correction, I think that's the lens that you should get. And it's quite small as well. In terms of cameras, of the three cameras that Rob just mentioned, OM1, OM5, and GH6, I only have the OM1. It is the one that's recording me now.
Oh.
That's my webcam at the moment.
I was wondering why it looks so good.
I haven't had enough time to shoot with it. I just got it about 2 weeks ago. In case you guys don't know, someone very generous sent me the OM1. I didn't buy it, so I don't want to rush it. I want to take my time to really test the camera, really experience what the OM1 can do, and then I'll share my opinion on what I like and dislike about it. So for now, I won't say anything, but so far I'm quite impressed with what the camera can do.
Okay, well, let me ask you just a very easy one. I'm not going to let you off that easy. What do you think of the new menu system?
Takes some time to get used to it because you've got to understand, my first serious camera was Olympus. It was the Olympus E520. And ever since then, every single Olympus camera has been consistent. The super control panel, the way the menu is, the layout and everything, it has been the same. So having used the same menu for like 10, 15 years, and suddenly there's something different, so it takes some time to get used to it. I'm not saying it's bad, it's just different. And I think after a while, it just gets into my muscle memory and everything should be okay. But for now, it's a little bit confusing.
Okay, yeah, I kind of felt the same way too, and I see a lot of the same, in my opinion, mistakes in the menu system that were in the previous one. Like, why is HDR and exposure bracketing separate? Why is focus stacking and focus bracketing separate? They should be in the same menu. But anyway, but yeah, I like the color coding a little better and stuff. But all right, I look forward to seeing your opinion on the OM1 after you've had it for a while. So Emilie, what's a new lens that's come out recently that you really like, and what do you think about the new GH6?
So the one I'm reviewing at the moment is the Lumix Leica 12-35 f2.8 Mark III. Ooh.
Oh, you're a 3 already.
And yes, it's a brand new one out. I think it's available for pre-order at the moment, and the review's coming out this week. And the reason that I really like it, more than like the quality of the lens, which is a huge step forward, it's just a testament to show the roadmap for Micro Four Thirds, just to show that there are new improvements all the time. It's not like they've just left it at the Mark II and it's done. You know, they're refreshing things all the time in the Lumix lineup, and I think that's really exciting. And the quality is stunning as well. Also, before I talk about the GH6, they've changed the menus. I haven't used any of the new OM cameras. The reason that the Olympus ones broke my little brain was I could never get on board with the menus. I just find myself like scrolling for ages, and I feel like Lumix is a little bit more idiot-proof. So I'm going to have to try some of these new cameras and see what I think of the menus. I'm very excited to see that. But yeah, I love the GH6. It's a delight. It is massive. I'm very away from what brought me to Micro Four Thirds in the first place, which was the small form factor. I did a silks and hoops aerial video job the other weekend, and my rig, it's like, you know, you've got all these lenses, you've got the cage, and I'm like, yeah, I love small cameras. You know, it's massive, but it is stunning. I do absolutely love the GH6. I think it's fantastic.
Yeah, definitely. That 12 to 35 Mark III. Boy, I can't wait to see that, because I've been debating between the 40 to 150 Pro from Olympus, which is this, and the 12 to 35, which is this.
Yeah.
I just been on the fence for a long time between those two lenses, but I'm leaning towards the Panasonic, and I was looking at the version 2, which just came out just only a couple of years ago. I'm really excited to hear that there'll be a Mark III. So a little leak there from Emilie, intentional or not.
Yeah, I'm not under embargo. I think I'm allowed to say it. It is available for pre-order, so I don't think I'll get my wrists slapped for that. But it is pricey. I mean, the way you look at it is, you know, it's coming out about £800. But if there is a Mark III, then the Mark IIs will drop. So if you were in the market for a Mark II, you can get yourself a bargain. Everybody wins.
Yeah. All right. Wow. I can't wait to see the Mark III, though. That because I've been getting more into event photography, and that's really a perfect focal length.
I've still got the one. I love the one enough. I didn't need the Mark II, but you can really see the progression now. The Mark I's getting on a bit.
Right. Okay, that's exciting. Hi, Peter. So, what? Tell me what you think. What's kind of a new lens that's come out that you really like, and what are your impressions of the OM1 and OM5 and GH6 if you have one?
Well, there's two lenses that have been really excited about. The one, of course, is the new 90mm macro, because I'm not a macro photographer, but how easy it was. You know, you have a 4x magnification, and you still have fully working AF, very close. And that's a magnificent lens, and you know, I think it's one of the best macros ever made. Like, I had my video named, and I haven't tested. I know that there is some talk about the sharpness between 60 millimeters and 90 millimeters, and I didn't test them side by side. So I will do that if I get a chance to get that 90 millimeter again. But I didn't see any problem with the sharpness when I make my tests. And then and another lens that it's already been mentioned is the Lowrey 6 millimeter lens, which is it's really good. The 6 millimeter, it's amazing how wide it is and how straight the lines are. It's kind of like, if you need a wide lens, I think that is the one. Really wide prime lens. It's magnificent. I think it's one of the best.
Really? Wow! Another vote for the 6 millimeter.
Oh yeah,
it is. Try it.
Also, yeah, and it's funny that they have a cinema version of it. But the disappointment with the cinema version was that it has a different type of blade, the aperture blade, so it doesn't give the sun star like the photographic version was, and that was a bit of a odd thing, that why they made it different, because it makes a beautiful sun star, or when you're stopping down, you get a nice sun star with that 6 millimeter. But I think
I'd have to see it.
Those two lenses, I think, are the most exciting that's been released in a past 6 months, I think. Yeah. And then about the cameras, I've been using OM1 for about a year, a little less than a year. And by the way, it will have a first birthday on the 15th, so that's next week. Awesome. And well, I've done everything, professional video and professional photography work with it, and then OM5 is my camera for when I go out and shoot for myself and do some street photography and like that. And there are a few things about OM1 is that they're mainly on the video side. I think that's something that OMDS should look more into it and just give it a bit more video features, so to catch up with Panasonic. It's interesting to see if they do that, and I haven't used GH6, so I can't really say. All I can say that it is most likely the best video camera for if you're using micro four thirds. The last Panasonic I had or still have it is the GH4, and it says a lot that I could use that still. It's that good, the GH4. Right. So I imagine that GH6 is amazing.
Yeah, yeah. From by all accounts, it looks like a terrific camera. And if I was more into video, I'd probably get that. But the OM1 for me professionally has replaced actually my Panasonic S5 because my demands aren't quite cinematic. I do commercial real estate videos professionally, but when OM1 added the 42010 bit with the 4K 60, that kind of sealed the deal together with the amazing IBIS. That
Yeah. Yeah, and
that,
it's actually interesting that usually when you do green screen stuff, you need to 422, but for some reason you can do that with the H.265 codec with OM1. You can really pull out a
yes,
nice green screen out of it, which was a surprise. Even though when I need to do green screen, I still use a external recorder because it is of course better when you can get ProRes
right.
high
I'm
quality.
using green screen now on the EM10,
Oh yes.
but I think that it outputs 422 8-bit if I recall. But anyhow, um, definitely the OM1. In terms of ultimate image quality, yeah, the S5 was way ahead. But the advantages of the OM1, having an uncropped 4K 60 and 10-bit output internally allowed me, and its smaller size and weight allowed me to use it on a gimbal together with the unmatched image stabilization. That's why it replaced, because I had the M1 Mark III for photography, and then I used the S5 for my video work. But the OM1 just stepped it up just enough that I didn't need the S5 anymore for video. But yeah, that's interesting. So the macro I think is really an awesome lens, and the 6mm. I think let's move on to Jimmy. I think didn't you just do a video on that, or was that your Red Award? I don't remember.
Yes, it's my Red Award. Yeah, well, if you guys haven't seen it already, and yeah, I made my top 5 selection for all the lenses that I reviewed and owned or played with in the last 12 months in 2022, and the top came out as the Lowrey 6mm f2 as well, and for the reasons I mentioned in the video, and it just has that kind of like a perfect blend of everything that we need for a micro four thirds lens. The only thing that you can probably say is lacking is not an AF lens, it's the manual lens. But being such a wide lens, the depth of field is quite deep anyway, so it's unlikely you're going to have an issue of focusing. It's a 6mm lens, and even if you set f2 wide open, the depth of field is going to be still equivalent f4, and f4 in an ultra wide lens, you're not going to worry about depth like focusing in any sort of cases. So it's actually quite an easy to use Napon a quick shot lens basically. So I love it, and it's tiny, small, which is what micro four thirds lenses should be, quite tiny. Similar goes to the Panasonic Leica 9mm 1.7, which I also have that as well. And the only reason that lens did not make to the top, I mentioned in the video, is that distortion that it has. So, for instance, if Peter Forsgard said he used external recorder to record his video, if you use a 9mm lens, you will see distortion, and you have to correct it in post. And that's something that I really don't want or like. You want less work as possible in doing anything in post. Apart from grading, of course.
Right.
So anything optically, you want it to be perfect, straight line to be straight, and so forth, right? So that's why the 6mm really kind of like nailed it. Straight lines.
Right.
Just
and
really
this is a perfect example of when I say a lot of the reviews, we have this sort of bias towards video a lot of times with the products.
Yep.
But that's interesting. Another vote for the 6.
Yeah, it's really good. Don't get me wrong though. The 9mm 1.7 is a fantastic lens. It's got really sharp optics. It's really it's fast AF. It's one of the fastest actually I've seen, and in recent time. So it's that good. And unfortunately, just because of the distortion, only affecting those people who are using external raw video recording. If you use internal output, and that's fine. It will be corrected in camera, and they just basically record externally, so that's not a problem. But for those who use ProRes raw recording externally, you will see the distortion. And but lenses wise, like subjectively, I do really like the new 90mm OM macro lens. That is a fantastic piece of optics.
Yes.
I just recently made the video, and I loved it so much I wanted to keep it, but obviously I have to send it back. And but it's a really great lens. I really love the versatility that you can use the MC14 and MC20 teleconverters. So that adds the flexibility to it. The magnification is increased, and that didn't affect too much in terms of image quality, which is surprisingly quite good. And the AF, for macro lens, AF is really fast, which is actually adds to that versatility point that I'm trying to make. And so you can use it as a normal portrait lens if you want. It's not going to be a fast action sports lens that you expect to like shoot birds, for instance, or cars or anything moving fast. But for general use, if you want to do some portraits, that lens is fast enough. It works with all the AF, eye tracking, and everything works fine. And so it's a fantastic lens. So that lens may win my next award. You never know.
Yeah, that 90 macro is definitely it's on my short list, but I'm gonna have to find something I can trade to get it. Anyhow, yeah, and like you said, with the 6mm, just to kind of, unless Matti and Emilie like it too, but when you talk about the depth of field and all that, like you said, we're not trying to get critical eye focus with a 6mm lens, right? So
no, definitely not. No.
Yeah, you can just set it to f2 and almost infinity focus for 99% of your shots.
It's hyper focus, in that case. Everything is just, you set it to 5.6, you can shoot on the street all day long without having to worry about focus. Just snap, just really quick. So it's a quick, fun lens, actually. Really, really fun. Yeah. Yeah. And cameras, and I think that the OM1 is still my favorite. Is like Peter, been using it like literally non-stop ever since it came out, and for about a year now. My camera is really battered now. It's scuffed everywhere, but it's still working totally fine. I do need to send it back to service though, because it's getting to the state that I think it needs a good cleanup. And it's really a fantastic camera, and I love the OM5 actually. I've been using the OM5 a lot. You can see my 90 macro video. I actually use the OM5 as demonstration instead of the OM1, and I think I might be the only one doing on the internet actually. Everyone uses the OM1, and so the OM5 is actually quite a fantastic little camera because it's so small and light.
Yes.
Which means for those who use EM5 Mark II, Mark III, you're very familiar with the OM5 because it's exactly the same body shape. It hasn't changed a bit in terms of the shape of it, but that's why I like about the EM5 series and now the OM5 series is because how light and how small, and at the same time being rugged by means of weather sealed, and you can literally take it anywhere you want. So that's my kind of de facto travel camera wherever I go. And I would love to use the pen app, but it's not weather sealed. So so if I want to go to some hostile environment, then the EM5 or the OM5 would still always be the choice of me for taking out.
Yeah, and I can only, one of the, the OM5 is a baby EM1 Mark III. And, with a few additional things, obviously, but what really amazed me about the EM1 Mark III was the image stabilization. If you're going to upgrade to an OM5, that would be, in my opinion, if you have an EM5 Mark III, the image stabilization alone is worth the upgrade if you're considering it. And that's what always really impressed me with starting with the EM1 Mark III and now the OM1 and now the OM5. It's really, you can see a big difference. And of course, improved autofocusing.
Yep.
And for me, the one feature that I'm trying to sell my EM5 Mark III, the one feature for the OM5 is going to be the Starry Sky AF, because I've been getting in astrophotography.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the handheld high-res shot mode.
The enhanced face and eye detection on the EM1 Mark III has been brought down to the OM5 now.
Yes.
So like if you're doing vlogging, for instance, it's actually very, very good for that. And some travel portraits, that works really well, much better than EM5 Mark III in that regard.
Yes, absolutely. The face detect was much improved with the EM1 Mark III, and it's now in the OM5. And I think they packed so much into that little camera that, and at the same price point as the original EM5 Mark III, it's I think it's really a bargain. But anyhow, okay, Emilie, thank you, Jimmy. Tell me Tell me what lenses you like that have been released. I think I know the answer, or we all do.
I know, I'm
And-
sorry, I'm just gonna repeat it. That's the
Yeah.
90 millimeter macro. I've been
Mhm.
so obsessed. I've been shooting with it for a few weeks. And honestly, I've started dreaming about this lens and shooting macro. So I think it says a lot. It's so sharp, that reach, the teleconverter, being able to add the teleconverter. And also, I'm really, really impressed with the focusing. Now I can focus as a macro photographer. I'm used to shooting everything in manual, and now I mean this lens actually is pushing me to give my camera a little bit, more control. So it's really fantastic. So Rob, just sell everything for this lens. That's my advice.
Okay. Wow.
No, but I know some people were saying, well, it's big for a macro four third, but I mean, you getting a 1:2 ratio. The magnification with this lens is spectacular, and it's very versatile too, because so I live in a very small space. I like to keep things minimalist, and so I try not to buy too many lenses, and I can't do that now. I'm very jealous of all of you guys. But I like to have a lens that I will use for different things, and this is a great portrait lens. And also, I've been using it for videos for wildlife because it works as a portrait for wildlife and video.
Yeah,
So,
and despite its size, it's not a heavy lens, right? It's only 400 and some grams, isn't it? Or
exactly. And when I first opened it, I thought, oh, that's big. And then I just hold it and I'm like, no, that's fine. That's actually pretty light for the size. So,
yeah,
no
because
worries.
there are lenses half that size that weigh more.
Yes, exactly. And compared to other, macro lens, that's still pretty small for that type of reach. So yes, that's my favorite lens. I think honestly, if I could only have this lens and the 150-400, I'll be very, very happy. That's it. I can just, shoot for the rest of my life, and that's it. I'm so impressed with those two lenses. They're really, pushing me to go outside, and that's what I want, right? I want a fun lens. I want something that will open a world that I would not see, and that's this lens. I just yes, it's been really fun the past 4 weeks to shoot with it and find insects, do water drop as well. I don't even have to think about cropping. I'm in full control of my composition. That's what this lens is giving me, and it's really changing the way I photograph now. So I know some people are like, well, yeah, but that's not in my budget. Well, that's okay because you have two other lenses. I'm not selling those. I'm still keeping them. The 30 millimeter macro and the 60 millimeter macro are amazing lenses, and that's what I like. I feel like if my budget is not a professional photographer budget, wildlife is the same. I have the 100 and 400 that I can use. I have you have so many different lenses that you can get, and are pretty good. They're not professional lenses, but you can get some amazing shots.
Yes.
As long as you know how to use your camera and your gear.
Yes. And something I wanted to ask you, because, if let's say you take all three lenses out, but specifically, when would you use a 30 millimeter macro versus your 90 millimeter macro? What would be different scenario that you would use one over the other?
Yes, I mean, for me, I'm going out and I just want to go very, very minimalist. I'm already thinking my 115-400 is with me all the time, and I'm just going to grab my 30 millimeter macro because I know in the forest there are mushrooms that I want to photograph. I might want to do, lighting mushroom in the forest. I'm just going to grab that 30 millimeter macro and have it in my pocket. That's it. It's just the convenience of I'm not going to restrict myself. This lens is coming. I put it in my pocket, and then in the forest, I'm just going to put it on my OM1 and be creative. And I have my flashlight with my phone. That's all I need. So it's that convenience. That's how I would use that 30mm macro, and why I'm not putting it on the market. Sorry, everybody. You won't find my 30mm macro on on eBay.
Right. And it's you can get that on sale a lot of times for like $250 new.
Yes.
And it's very versatile, right? You can almost use it as a normal focal length as well. And it's really a do-it-all. But okay, and then just quickly, what do you think about the OM1? You've had it for a while, and maybe the OM5. I don't know if you've picked that one up too.
So I'm thinking about it. I love that you can also shoot, for Instagram story already. It's great.
Vertical. Yeah.
Vertical, yes, exactly.
Yes, vertical, yeah.
This is so cool. It's just saving me time. That's what I like. I like a camera that is going to do part of my job. So I've been thinking about the OM5. The only reason why I did not buy it is because I already have a few OM1 that I've been using. So, I don't know how many camera I can convince my wife I should have.
As many as you want.
Yeah, I don't know if she will agree with that. So that's why. But the OM1 it's kind of my dream camera, so it's hard to think of what could be better because I'm already so happy with it. It's basically they put the Mark III and the EM1X together, and that's what I get because I really wanted the Starry AF, but I also do a lot of wildlife. So the EM1X is a little too big for me. I like something small, so that's why it's perfect. And if you want something like the M1X, just add how do you call it,
the grip?
The grip, exactly. So yes, I love it. The menu, I think it's quite intuitive on the OM1. And then you get to create your own menu as well. So I never had an issue actually with Olympus and OM1. It functioned with my brain somehow. I don't know. Maybe that menu is made for me, but not for other people. But it works.
Yes.
So yes, I love this camera. It's with me every day.
Okay. Yes, it's really my favorite camera for sports and wildlife. Anyway. For everything else, I still take my Pen F out.
I know I've seen more comments about Pen F2.
Yeah.
They keep on.
Nobody said OM1 Mark II, right? Everybody said Pen F2.
No, because you can't think this is already, I'm so happy with this. Like I can't think of something else. So I understand the Pen F2.
That's true. Okay, Matti. So tell me, what do you think is what's an exciting new lens you've seen recently for Micro Four Thirds, and what do you think about the new releases for Micro Four Thirds in the cameras?
All right, I don't have first-hand experience with many of the new products or lenses, but I saw Robin's 9mm and I held it in my hand and I thought it's a pretty neat lens, and I think I would like that lens too. And it seems like an awesome little wide angle. But I've never used it, but I believe what everyone else is saying, that it's a great optics and all that. And other lens that I want to mention that I've actually used is the OMDS 40-150 f4, because it's such a tiny telephoto lens, perfect for traveling, only f4, but because of that, it is really, really super tiny, pocket-sized, really high optical quality. I liked it a lot. I used it last spring together with the OM1, and it was a really, really nice combo. So those are the two lenses that I like. There are probably many other lenses that are really great, but I have no first-hand experience, so I can't really say if I would like them or not.
Right.
And then about the OM1, it's probably, I used it last spring when it was a fairly new product, and I think it's probably the best Micro Four Thirds camera for photography. But I also think it's a little bit pricey, because in that price range there are so many other great cameras too.
Yes.
And we are Micro Four Thirds fans. We live in a bubble. We think it's the only great camera there, but there are so many other people buying cameras. And also you have also consider that OMDS or OM system is kind of a no-name brand at the moment for those of people who come outside of the bubble. They don't know what it is. If there's a Canon or a Nikon, everyone knows what Canon is, but OM system, it's no one's ever heard of it. So I don't think it's gonna be easy to kind of attract people from outside the box or bubble. But anyway, it's a great camera, and like I said, probably the best Micro Four Thirds camera for photography at the moment. And then I have never even seen the OM5, so I'm not going to say anything. But I used the GH6 also when it was fairly new, and I think it's an excellent, fantastic video camera. I don't think it interests photographers that much, because it's extremely big and heavy for a Micro Four Thirds camera. But yeah, there it is.
Look at
up
that.
there. But it's a fantastic video camera, and it has some nice photo features too. But I hope Panasonic is going to release something more photo-centric with some of the same photo features, like maybe the G9 Mark II or whatever. And that would attract more photographers, I think. So there you have it, my thoughts.
Okay, that's interesting. Yeah, I think you make a good point that, you know, the OM1 is definitely in a price point that it competes with a lot of other terrific cameras. But you also make the point, and this was in one of your older videos, that it doesn't make any sense to change systems, right? The system you have is the best, and upgrading to the OM1 and staying within, you know, if you're already heavily invested in Micro Four Thirds glass, there's no reason not to get one, in my opinion. I think you would agree with that. But starting out scratch, like this is your first camera, yeah, it's in some tough competition, and the fact that it's done so well for OM systems, you know, it's probably, you know, from everything I've read, it's, you know, they're constantly sold out, and, you know, it's really brought a lot of attention on OM systems, that it is really a fantastic camera. Certainly worth every penny, in my opinion. But okay, so that is awesome. I think, you know, what I wanted to kind of get into now was, as we talked a little bit about the kind of cameras we'd like to see come out, and it seems like smaller cameras, like smaller GM1s, something in that style, and also a Pen F2, something kind of high end. You know, the Pen F2 reminds me a lot of the Pen F reminds me a lot of the Leica CL, which was discontinued. So Pen F2 in that vein. Anyway, I'm a Pen F fanboy. I can't help stop talking. I'll have to make a whole video about a Pen F one day. But okay, let's talk about photography, because all of you have really some amazing experience and very unique perspectives, I think, doing photography all these years. And that's one of the things I really respect most about all of you is your experience in doing photography for all these years. Because for me personally, I'm relatively new. Years are moving on. I mean, I've been shooting only about 9 years now, but I never thought of photography as, you know, it's never been a career for me until recently, and I never had a passion for it until recently. So I wanted to draw on, you know, and I'll start with you, Robin. If there's people new to photography, just getting started, maybe they've bought their first camera, like they bought an OM5 or GH6, whatever it might be. What do you think they should learn first within photography?
All right. Before I answer that question, I just want to have an open, not invitation, but like, because Matti is coming back to Malaysia, to Kuala Lumpur. I'm going to
Yes.
see Matti again very soon. So you're free to take
Can't
my
wait,
OM.
can't wait.
You're free to take my OM1 anytime. I can't show you my OM1 because the OM1 is my webcam. And you're free to use that 9mm and do your review. I want to see that on your channel. I think the
right.
Micro Four Thirds community will appreciate your OM1 and the 9mm content.
That's a deal.
Right.
I promise. That's a deal.
All right, coming back to Rob's question about a newcomer to photography, someone who just bought a new camera, and what's the first thing to learn or to get into? Everyone has a different answer. I don't think there's a right and wrong. There are many important things about photography. There's so many different aspects. It also depends on what kind of photography that you do. But if you ask me if I'm to answer this question, I will say the fundamentals, the exposure basics. Get your shutter speeds, get your aperture, understand your ISO, master this exposure triangle, because if you can fully understand how these three settings work, you can actually do almost everything with your camera. And it frustrates me because a lot of people, they don't spend enough time to learn and really master these basics when they use the camera. So they just buy whatever camera that they have, they use it for like a month, and they think, oh, the images I get, they are blurry, they are not good enough, too much high ISO noise, not enough dynamic range. They got fed into all this information from the forums, from all these technical experts measuring camera against another, like, oh, this lens is not good, this camera is not good, but they don't even understand how to fully utilize or optimize the output from their camera. And the only way to really get the best out of a camera is to really understand the ISO, the shutter speed, the aperture, and how they all interact. And I made a video recently about just staying at ISO 200, shooting at night in low light. And in the comments, a lot of people commented and said, wow, I didn't even know I can do that. I didn't know I can just use
Wow.
ISO 200 with my Olympus cameras. Yes, you have to try it first. Don't just go up to ISO 2800 and come back with a bad image. You can just get away with ISO 200. That's the thing about fundamentals. Spend time with your camera, shoot as much as you can, and don't worry about bad photographs or not getting the photographs that you like. Get to know your camera first. Understand how it works. I think that's the first step, and I think it's very important, and a lot of people, the newcomers, are missing on this particular point.
Okay, yes, excellent. I would agree. The fundamentals are very, very important to helping you understand or improve your photography from understanding the basics. What do you think, Emilie? If you were coaching somebody new to photography, what would you tell them to do or learn or do first?
So I think once you've got your head around your exposure triangle, I think it's really important to try as many different genres of photography as you can. Because in my own experience, I've kind of butterflied my way through photography and tried a little bit of everything. And I honestly think there's something to be learned from every type of photography. Like if I was shooting bird photography, for instance, learning about shutter speed and the burst mode helps me get confetti shots in weddings. You know, everything relates back to different disciplines of photography. And I also think you can't really know what you enjoy until you've tried a little bit of everything. And also don't stick into one niche as well. You know, I did a lot of portraiture when I first started out, and now I'm moving away from that into different things like live events and more circus performers and things like that. Your interests will change over time. And if you've got the fundamentals down, you can apply those skills to any genre of photography.
Yeah, and I think you make an interesting point about combining genres to improve your photography, right? Like the confetti and bird photography. Or why not mix landscape and bird photography, right? It's you can really, you can take lessons from each genre and apply them to each other to make even more amazing photos. And you're going to break a lot of rules in the process. But that's the beauty of it, right? Of creativity and so that's really great advice. Try different genres and try combining them. That's terrific. How about you, Peter? What would you tell a new photographer? What should they learn or do first?
Well, first I have to say all of the above that has been already said is of course important. But what I would talk about is light, because light is everything. Because a bad photograph is distinguished from the light in many cases. Of course, composition and that stuff is also important. But I think light is something that try to understand how light affects, because sometimes you want flat light for a reason. Sometimes you want some contrasty light or light that makes the shape, because without light there are no shadows, and without shadows and light there is only flat. And photograph is kind of like a 2D scene that you try to make 3D, and light is one of the biggest things to do that. So that might be after the two, like I said, all of the above, and then light is, I think, is one of the most important things.
Right, and I would argue that you could put your program, your camera into program mode, and just look for light and shadows.
Yeah.
And still
that's also
images.
Yeah.
And not even worry about like what Robin and Emilie are talking about.
Well, it depends.
No, I mean it depends. I mean, I'm just exaggerating, make it kind of extreme, but certainly everything you guys are recommending.
It's also important is to, of course, learn the basic, like already said, but also important is just to go out and shoot, and first don't care what others say about your images. That comes later, and that's another thing that usually what is kind of like a sad thing, that people are too much concerned with what others think, and that's
well, the entire social media network is built on that, right?
But of course at a certain point there is a time when you, if you want to be better, you need to have a kind of like a mentor, or start looking at other people's work and start learning from that and getting that feedback from different places, of course. But that's also kind of like a learning curve that, of course, we all hate when someone says that your photo is a crap. But that's something we just have to get used to it. At least I am.
Awesome. Yeah, that's great advice. Light and shadows, because that's by definition what photography means, right? Painting with light.
Exactly.
How about you, Jimmy? What would you coach or tell a new photographer?
Oh, it's going to be tricky now, isn't it? Every passes is going to be making like the next person extremely difficult to answer, because they have done all the good points already.
Right.
So I feel for you, Emilie and Matti. And I do coach photographers and new photographers and workshops and things like that. And but what same thing really. Lights is, to me, is the most important thing. And I think you set a good tone there, Peter, and I do really agree with you. And without even doing anything that what Robin, Emilie, with all due respect, but that's how majority of new photographers started, right? They start from a point-and-shoot cameras or a smartphone these days, and that's their first imagery capturing machines. And that's how they first exposed to picture taking. Not necessarily to get a super-duper camera straight away. They started with something really simple and basic. And what got them continue or wanted to further develop their photography skills is usually from what they already capture. And from a simple smartphone, what you're going to look at is this, whatever has been projected to the screen. And obviously light plays a big part of it, because on a smartphone there's limited control. There's not much of everything's done for you. Let's put it simply, like everything's done for you in the computer. So you are really looking to using your eyes, your brain, looking into the scene and capture it and see whatever is interesting in front of you. And contrast and light plays a huge part in that. And then once you master that, learning to see from what you're capturing, and you just want to maybe somehow that you want to say, okay, maybe I can further develop these photos or make a better photos from whatever I've done on a smartphone. Then you can start looking into getting a better equipment. Then you can have that luxury or flexibility in adjusting yourself different parameters and the ISO, shutter speed, and to create different effects, to create different quality, to create different sensors in terms of visual sensors. So that's a really interesting thing that I think what Peter has mentioned, because you can strip everything apart and you're just purely looking at the scene in front of you and looking at a screen and see what you can capture. And I think you're starting from there. If it does capture something brilliant, and I've seen really a lot of great iPhone photographers in that they have iPhone awards every year, and I've seen some of those images, and you can just see them say, wow, that is amazing, right? You know, this amazing photograph. They didn't even do anything. They just point and shoot and just click it, but they somehow they see the potential in that scene, how they can utilize what they have on the hand, which is just a pure simple smartphone, and capture that scene without doing too much work to it. And that's really tells something. And camera is always a tool. It's nothing more than just a tool. And a more sophisticated camera is just giving you more flexibility to control certain aspects of it and to create something that you really want. And for instance, motion blur, if you want to slow down the shutter speed, or having long exposures, light trails, star trails, whatever you want to do that. And so yeah, camera's cool. But don't forget all the basics, like what Robin already mentioned, what Emilie already mentioned, like compositions and all the other stuff that all comes into it at the slightly later stage, I suppose. But reading light, I think light is definitely something that every new photographer should pay more attention than anything else, because so many beginners now, they just jump into the spec sheet. They learn about, oh, this new camera can shoot 1 million ISO. That means I can take great photographs. Not necessarily if you don't know how to utilize it. And then they go into pitch black area and hoping to get a great shot. But if you've got no light, how can you capture a great shot? There's no contrast anywhere. There's no light. You can't even shake the subject. So everything's like what Peter just said, flat. If a flat photograph doesn't mean anything, it's going to be really boring, no interest, just boring. So like all these fundamentals that you really need to know, and light is definitely like what you just said, Rob. Light is what photography means, right? Light painting is what photography, the meaning of photography.
And I like that you kind of remove the gear aspect from what we're talking about. Just go out with your iPhone or cell phone, and look for light, look for compositions. Develop your skill set, study your images. It's again, we're going back to photography, and certainly there are apps for phones where you can learn the fundamentals for aperture, shutter speed, priority, limited as it might be on a small phone like an iPhone or something, but the fundamentals are still all there when it comes to photography, and you'll be a better photographer for it. And your money won't be wasted. You'll be investing in yourself when you eventually get a real camera, when you upgrade. So, Emilie,
how do you follow this?
Tough act to follow, right?
So this is my very boring advice. Read your manual.
Oh,
yes.
That's
so
good.
important.
Yes.
That was actually my mentor, Liha. He said that first thing you do, you read your manual, and I don't care how boring it is. You read your manual and you read it and you reread it and you're gonna read it again. And he's right. You're investing in a camera that, for some, costs a lot of money. So you need to know your camera so you get the best out of it. And then make mistakes, because you're going to make a lot of mistakes, and that's also how you're progressing. And sometimes mistakes can be very good and can turn into good things. So don't be afraid to make mistakes. That's how you learn. And then I saw Rob B in the comment. He said, yes, I joined a camera club. And that was one of the advice that I'm giving to everybody. I'm part of a camera club, the Seacoast Camera Club in Portsmouth, New Hampshire. And I learned so much from being part of a camera club, because you meet different people with different gears and different passion and try different things. So that really, really helped my photography. And also, there are tons of free stuff online. OM System is doing a lot of live. DAX is amazing, and they do the Tech Tuesday. So if you have any question, just go and ask. Any one of us, send us a message. We'll answer. We're here to help you out. So it's 2023. There are so many ways to improve your photography because of that community that's being creative and people who are ready to share. So those would be my advice. And then go back to the basic, like, also Jimmy was saying, look at art, go into a museum, look at paintings, what is inspiring you, and you'll get a lot of answers for your photography as well.
Yeah, and I think that's a really good point, that a lot of the great photographers from the past, many of them were painters.
Yes,
So studying painting can be a great way to give you some inspiration and visual, of what photography is, or what makes an interesting composition. Uh, and you can get into symbolism and all kinds of art history and things. But long story short, look at paintings. A lot of great photographers were also painters. Sometimes they were
exactly.
painters first. Many
And the
times.
lights as well, how they're, reproducing the lights in their painting, how they're using the lights in their painting.
Yes.
It's just very inspiring. I know I'm inspiring by some of the painters, and I saw someone in the comment that says, well, how do you get paper manual of the the physical copy of the manual? You can actually order them on at least OM system website, or just print them, download them. I know I have them on my tablet and on my computer. I have all my manuals.
That's awesome. That is one thing I would have never even thought of. Read your manual.
I'm very good for those type of weird things to say, but I
Yeah.
really believe in it. Read your manual. You're investing so much money.
Yes.
Read the
I don't need
manual.
any menu. I don't need any menu. I've got Robin and Peter here, so I don't need any menu.
Yes, some people like you guys serve as manual. We don't know something, you just, instead of checking in the manual, you just ask the question right there. That's very, very
Right.
true.
All right. That's great advice, Emily. Thank you. And Maddie, what would you
Oh.
tell a new photographer to do? Because
I don't know if there's much I can add, but I'm just gonna say, stop looking at pictures of cameras. Start looking at pictures taken with those cameras. And also, like Peter said, learn to see the light, and learn to see the composition, and learn to see what generally makes a photo work. There are very good books, for example, that you can borrow or buy. There's one, it's called Photographer's Eye or something, by, forget the author, maybe Robin can remember that.
Michael Freeman.
Yes,
Freeman.
exactly. Yes, that book is excellent, for example. And that's all I can say. And I agree that the P mode, the professional mode, is the best mode. I use it all the time for my pictures. Forget about all the I don't want to downplay Robin. It's important to learn the basics, of course, but just put your camera on P mode and start looking for the light, see the light, follow the light, and you'll be a better photographer. Too many people with cameras, they are interested in cameras and not photography, and they like to look at the pictures of cameras and pictures of or videos where people are playing with cameras. But as soon as you start showing your photos or talking about photography, then they move away to somewhere else to see more cameras. So yes, what more can I say? Those are my advice.
No, that's great, because I've been taking a lot of notes for myself, because I feel like I'm always learning in this, and that's what's great about photography, is it never ends, right? There's always something to learn. And the only thing I would add, or not add, but I want to emphasize, that kind of stood out to me was, if you can, find a mentor that can help you, right?
Yes.
Somebody that's experienced, and that was certainly one of the things that helped me a lot, is I had a mentor help me. It was just a friend of mine, but he was much more experienced in photography. And when you don't have a mentor or photo club that you can join to get you out there, this book, like Michael Freeman, I'm going to look that up. Look at books, look at paintings, right? for inspiration and ideas, and try to understand light, composition, shadows, what makes something interesting to you. Don't get pigeonholed into what is a popular photo, but try to look at photos that you like and enjoy, so that you can start to develop your own style. And that would be the only thing I would add or emphasize of what's already been said. But that's amazing. So I'm gonna ask this next question is gonna be a little tougher though. And there's a similar question in one of the places I posted the live stream in. But and I'll start with Robin. Is how do you overcome like slumps in your photography? Because you get out there. Some of us hit it sooner than others, but you get into a point to where you're just not motivated to take pictures, or you're struggling. You're motivated, but you're not improving. You're struggling, right? Could be anything. The slump could be anything, right? But I'm just saying, what do you do to help get out of a slump, and what tips would you give?
I think for me, I will ask myself the question, why did I fall in love with photography in the first place? Why did I pick up the camera? Why am I doing photography? Like, what's the purpose of my photography? So the answer is different for everyone. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that I like to do when I go out to shoot on the streets, some people don't call it street photography because I go up close to people, I take close-up portraits of strangers, and I do that a lot. And I don't care if it's street photography or not, I just love doing it. Call it whatever you want, street portraits or just portraits. And whenever I feel like I'm not motivated, or I feel like I'm in a slump, which doesn't happen a lot, but it does happen, I'm human. And I'll ask myself, why do I do it? What makes me enjoy doing it? What's the thing that I want to do? So basically the answer for me in this particular case is, I like to see humans smile. There's something about seeing a smile in another person that gets to me, and it brings me a lot of joy. And I would like to believe that somehow my photography has captured that as well. And every time I successfully capture that portrait that I like, that portrait of stranger, and that there's that beautiful smile, that somehow that essence in that photograph, that positive feeling, it stays with me. And knowing that I will get that feeling, it's like a drug. And I will start looking for that feeling. I have to go out and find that portrait of stranger, whoever that victim will be next, and I'll attack that person, and I'll bring that feeling with me. I don't know if that answers Rob's question. It helps me. It helps me to get out and to look for more subjects to photograph.
Yeah, that is exactly the kind of answer I think a lot of us are looking for. Which I just want to follow that up just a little bit with.
Sure.
Because you do a lot of street photography.
Yes.
And maybe it's different in Malaysia, but one of our viewers had a question about, how do you overcome that fear of taking pictures of people and not being, because he feels like people are going to be judgmental or, defensive or don't want their picture taken. They have this fear of street photography, taking pictures of people. What advice would you give to them?
Okay, first of all, before I answer that question, it is very important to be respectful. Be a human being first, photographer second. No matter what you do, you have to be human first. So being a human to another human, you must respect that person, respect their privacy, the personal space. If the other person doesn't want to be photographed for whatever reasons, you have to respect that as well. So you just apologize and move on. No hard feelings. It's perfectly fine. And sometimes some people want to take a photo of me. I also reject. Maybe I wasn't in a good mood. Maybe I just had an argument with another person. I don't have the right smile for that photo. I mean, it's fine. Just be respectful. And if the person rejects, don't antagonize that person. I see a lot of famous street photographers. They will like bash in and say, why? I have the right to take this photograph. This is the public space. That's what gives us the bad name as street photographers. Don't do that. That's the first thing. How to overcome the fear of rejection? I guess you will be rejected. Whether you like it or not, not everyone will want their photographs to be taken. And that's okay. That's my point. It is okay to be rejected because I can't speak for, I don't know, European countries or in America, but here in Southeast Asia, in Malaysia especially, people are friendly. People are super friendly. I go up to strangers. I get very high hit rate. I don't get rejected a lot. And yes, I do get rejected, but I don't get rejected a lot. And even if I get rejected, I have to keep in mind that it's okay to be rejected. It's their right. You know, if they don't want the photographs to be taken, we just have to respect that. And I think having that mindset, being respectful, going out, you're not causing any harm. And I think that's what's going to get you some shots. And stay positive. If one person rejects you, there will be other people who are willing to have the photographs taken.
That is great advice, because I still have that fear personally, and I don't know why. I have 100% hit rate. I've asked one person if I could take their picture, and they said yes. But I've never done it again. But I really like that you said be human first.
If you take the next one, it might be a 50 hit rate next time. It's gonna.
Okay, Emilie.
So don't do it.
Quit while you're ahead.
Yeah. Yeah, I have 100% hit rate.
Yeah.
I wish my lottery averages were that good, but how about you, Emilie? How would you help someone overcome a slump, or what advice would you give them if they're struggling to either go out and photograph, they're lacking the drive or enthusiasm, or maybe they're struggling with improving? What advice would you give?
So one thing that sometimes gets me in a rut, I do a lot of street photography as well, but I think it's more about the moving parts of a city rather than intimate portraiture, mostly because I'm a chicken, to be honest. Sometimes if I find myself going through the motions and going through the routine of maybe going down the same streets, or I take a photo and I go, I took this last year, I remember exactly this composition. And I think it's about limiting myself, forcing myself to go to different places, or even different places within the same city, and limiting myself with camera gear as well. You know, taking out just one prime lens, taking out silly little cameras instead of my expensive cameras, because you can still get fantastic photographs with anything that you take out. And because I am a bit of a camera nerd, trying out different cameras, older cameras, really does excite me and get me back into my creative headspace.
Oh, that's great. Great advice. That's true. Sometimes you get kind of flustered about, God, what lens should I take out today? Because you have so many.
Yeah.
Right. So you just take them all.
Yeah.
And then you never end up going out. And I know I find myself sometimes just spending an hour or two trying to find a place to go take photographs. And then it's too late and I end up not going.
Yeah, you know, I've got a room full of lenses everywhere, lenses, and the lens I've used the most in the last 6 months is this 14mm Lumix Prime, and it's probably one of the cheapest lenses I own, but it's so incognito, such a great focal length, and it really does do a great job. You don't have to spend the earth to get amazing results.
Yeah, so just basically just pick up a camera and go out. Don't even think about it.
Absolutely.
And that'll get you out of a rut. That's true. That's true. I've done that a few times myself. How about you, Peter? What advice would you give to get out of a rut or improve your photography?
Well, what works for me is just I give myself an assignment. It could be anything. And the way to, what I've done it is that I have 100 different topics in my head. And of course, I've written them down, and I just, start seeing photographing those. One of them just randomly, the first thing I see, I go from that. And probably the way has come from my professional background, because if somebody asks me to photograph on Wednesday at noon, I need to be creative. I can't have a rut. So that's an assignment, so I kind of do the same thing with my free time. But also I have to say that sometimes if you are in a creative rut, it is okay to stay home and watch a movie. You don't be kind of like overwhelmed or stressed about it. Because photography is supposed to be fun. And of course, if you don't have a urge to go to photograph in a month, maybe you should get another hobby. Sorry, this is I don't mean it by saying it in a rude way. I hope it. You know.
No, I
Kind of like
understand.
but
Meaning,
then just it's just there are a lot of other excellent things to do if that's just too stressful. So don't
yeah,
be
don't
overwhelmed
stress it,
of
right?
that too. Yeah.
That's great advice. Assignments, definitely is a great way to improve your photography and keep you going. And if that's not enough, just take a break. It's not a big deal, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That's great. How about you, Jimmy? What advice would you give to help a photographer out of a slump or improve their photography?
Right. Believe me or not, I actually experience it almost on a daily basis, and only because my type of photography and also the jobs that I have, and I'm a location portrait photographer, so I shoot a lot on location, and majority of my clients are basically foreign, so they come to London, hire me as a photographer to take their portraits in London landmarks. As you can imagine, we have a handful of landmarks in London, but they're always the same places, the same thing. So like I have to go to the same places literally on a daily basis, and you can imagine that sort of repetitiveness that could affect my creativity in a way. And so like it's a very challenging business, I have to say. And so yes, slum is always there, because like, oh, what I'm gonna do tomorrow, I'm going to the same Big Ben again, so like, what can I make it different out of it? Yeah, it's going to be challenging, I don't think there's any way to go around it in my side. So the only way I usually, what I would do for myself is to actually pick a different lens, believe me or not. It's actually quite an interesting way to do that. Only because you get into this habit on using the same lens all the time, same focal length, same effects, thinking that always work, right? That's a safety net. But as soon as you pick a different lens out, different focal length, but by the way, I shoot prime lenses a lot, so that's why I'm saying this. If you use a zoom, that might be a different story for you. So let's say I use 17 mils all the time on the Micro Four Thirds, so 35 in full frame. If I suddenly change to 25, 15 full frame, and it instantly give me a different view. Like if I stand on the same place, I look through the viewfinder, everything's different, and that shocked my system and actually forced me to change my position and to look different, so I can create something that's totally unrelated to what I shot yesterday, for instance. So this is actually quite a shock to me, and quite a good way for me to get out from that slum, if you that you talked about, and because it's really a daily thing for me. And last year, since summer, I've done about 90 photo shoots just from summer alone. So it's a really that's why I was really busy in the last few months, and it's really really hard. And so I guess for that, using a different lens may have a positive impact on you if you are a prime shooter. And taking a break, like what Peter said, is also a good way as well. And sometimes I just basically, if I get to that state that I literally have nothing else to think about, I actually would just switch off and watch a movie. And sometimes, if you watch, depending on what type of movie you're watching, and it may actually get some new inspiration from the like good cinematographer who, however they film an angle and position and expose a certain scene, may give you and trigger your creativity again. Oh, maybe that would look quite good in my next shoot, like that kind of thing. So I'm trying to get inspiration from something. I try not to go onto the internet because the internet is just too much, and I'd rather just spend 2 hours watching a really nicely filmed movie than I can just get some inspiration from there.
Yes, that is great advice.
Can I say something?
Mm-hmm.
Next time, Jimmy, I'm coming to London sometime. If I'm coming, I'm going to hire you to take a picture of me in front of the Big Ben. That's a promise.
Should I use a 19mm macro to shock my system again?
I don't know. It's up to you. I hope you're not too expensive. If I can afford it, it depends on that.
Wow.
For you, my friend, anytime.
And I think again, and this is what I like. I'm getting very different answers to the same question, and I've definitely for me, when I 17 used to be my favorite focal length, but I switched to 25 because I was kind of in this slump myself, and I switched to a 25, and now I love the 25 millimeter, and I can't wait to go out and shoot with the 25 whenever I go out. And then today I felt like, okay, I've kind of, hit that 25. So I put the 45 on today, and I said, I'm going to shoot with this for a while. And that's something I'm practicing now, because I did hit a slump a few months ago. And so I switched off to 17 and went to 25, and now that cured it. It was that simple. And
Rob,
watching...
the next one, it should be the 75 then.
Oh God. Yeah.
You'll be shooting with a wildlife lens by the end of the year.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. How about you, Emilie? If you run into some slumps, or what would you advise for?
Yeah, it's funny. I feel like there are so many things I want to do that I haven't felt that yet. But I feel like in my work, sometimes that's the case. And I just take a break, go outside, recharge. I feel like nature is very inspiring. So just go out, take a break, and you'll be surprised how creative you can get, even if you don't have your camera in hand. So that's probably what I would recommend. And carpe diem. If it doesn't work today, it doesn't mean tomorrow it's a brand new day. You might just find inspiration when you're not thinking it will happen. So just take one day at a time.
Yeah, and I think that's another way to look at it, is like, just go out a lot without your camera, and then see how much you miss it.
Yes.
I can't tell you how many times I didn't have my camera, and I was like, I wish I had brought it, because I was like, I don't feel like taking pictures. Then I went out and I'm like, oh my God, I wish I had my camera. Anyhow, thanks. Yeah, that's great advice. How about you, Matti? What would you do?
I don't know. I've been a photographer maybe 45 years, never had a slump, so I don't really know how it feels, and I can't give you any advice.
That's amazing.
Only kidding. Only kidding.
Okay.
Only kidding.
I was not taking you seriously.
My advice is to find out why you are photographing in the first place. Why are you taking pictures? Because if you don't know why you are photographing, then obviously you're not motivated and your results are not very good. It's the same thing with everything. You gotta know why you are doing something, anything. As soon as you find out why you are taking pictures, why do you want to take photographs, then you are out of the slump and your results will improve. That is a promise.
All right, so that's definitely Oh, go ahead.
And I agree with everyone else, because I'm the last one. I always have less things to say, because everything has been said already. But anyway, yeah.
Okay. I mean, I would argue you have. Let me just say that, all these different answers are, fantastic, and I think that's what makes everything great, is because a lot of our viewers can connect with, say, Robin better than they connect with Peter. But then, personally, I connect with actually your videos and the topics you cover, Matti, the most of everyone here. And that's not to take away anything from anyone else, but we all connect with people differently. And that's why it's important to have so many different answers and so many different points of view. And like Robin said, there's no right or wrong answer. The answer is what's best for you, right? What works for you? What do you connect with? What's going to help you improve? And that's why I love having everyone here. I wish I could have more people here, but those are amazing answers. And
we can always have part 2.
Yes. I definitely been taking a lot of notes for myself. And even though a lot of these things you hear over and over again, it helps to write them down and reinforce them. So I hope all of you as the viewers are taking notes, because this is gold. It's really good stuff here. And I wanted to kind of wrap it up with and then we'll go on to take some questions from the viewers. So for those of you watching now, if you have any questions for the viewers, I'm sure many of them will stay on if they have the time. I'd like to go ahead and start taking them, but don't start posting. Well, go ahead and start posting them now. I'll make a mark here, 10:47 a.m. Okay, my time. So I'm going to start looking at all the chat from 10:47 a.m. forward for questions. And if you can, put an @ sign in front of if it's for someone specifically that you want to ask about. Otherwise, I'll just say, somebody raise your hand who wants to take this one. if it doesn't matter which person answers. Okay, so, but my last question is, and again, all these questions were really biased for my own personal use. I'm just taking advantage of your presence. But what do you think is kind of missing in photography right now these days? Maybe we've had it before, maybe it's never been done before. What do you think is missing in photography or in photographers, or what do you think photographers are missing in photography? Like maybe it's there, but they're not getting it, or maybe it's not there and we need to, I'm not sure how to phrase this, but it's like trying to prove a double negative, right? What's missing? How do you prove something is missing, right? So this is a really probably, I think, the hardest question for everyone. What do you think is missing in photography, or what do you think photographers are missing? And I'll start with you, Robin.
Sure, Rob. That's very difficult to answer, but
Yes.
I'll try my best. I think what's missing, this is based on my observation. Of course, my opinion is subjective, and feel free to disagree, right? I'm not always right, like what Matti always said. Anyways, a lot of people or a lot of photographers these days are obsessed with the how, or the technique in capturing the photographs. And because they look at something that they admire, they want to replicate the results, and they try to find the secret or technique. And it's always the, how do I capture this photograph? What is the lens that I use? How do I edit the photograph or post-process to get a certain look or feel? Or how did this photographer get this photograph? No, it's the how that's so obsessed. And the missing thing that I observe is the what. We are not asking the what question enough. So what is the story that you're trying to tell in the photograph? What is your voice as a photographer? What makes your photograph shine? I think asking the what question is very important, because we go out to shoot, and this is true probably not for all genres of photography out there, like, because I'm speaking as a portrait photographer, I'm speaking as a street photographer. So every time I go out and shoot a street photograph, it's always the what, is the subject content that matters. It is what's in your photograph that ultimately hooks the viewer, that connects and engages the audience. If you have something, the what, if that something in your photograph is compelling enough, if that story is strong enough, if you have a powerful message to send in your photograph, I think that can get through, and that will really improve and take your photography to the next level. So my advice is, instead of asking the how questions all the time, perhaps start to switch a little bit and ask, what am I doing? What's in my photograph? What should I include in my photograph? What should I not include in my photograph? It is the what question, I think, that will get us, that's missing all this time. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah. Don't just take a picture. Take a picture because there's a what, why, what is it about this picture, right? Okay, and don't be obsessed with how. Don't put it in program mode like Matti and just take a picture. How about you, Emilie? What do you think people are missing, or what do you think is missing in photography?
This is a tough question. I love it. Evil,
Yeah.
saving the evil ones to the end. I think in the era of social media, I don't know if any of you guys have ever felt this, but I used to have absolutely no issue with going on Instagram and going, oh, I took that photo 10 minutes ago. I'm just going to share it because I like it. And now I think there's more pressure for things to be consistent and be more curated and have more of a theme. And I feel like the experimentation in photography has kind of gone to the point where, is this going to get clicks versus is this something I'm proud of and want to share? And it's going back to like what Robin said. It's about like the why people take it, rather than just this is a technically nice photograph that people might give a thumbs up to, but it might have quite a hollow meaning behind it. And I think the experimentation and passion is sometimes lacking, and that's what I try to work on at the moment a little bit more.
Wow. Yeah, that is so true. Experimenting, because I think AI has been sort of was mentioned earlier. People are just want things done for them in a lot of ways, and they're not experimenting on their own. Um, Certainly, yeah, that's definitely experimenting is a big one. How about you, Peter? What do you think's missing, or what do you think photographers are missing?
Well, I think the problem is that there isn't much that is actually missing, and that causes the problem that we have too many options. There's so many good cameras, so many good lenses, so many places to post your images, and we all want to do everything, which will end up that we're not doing anything good. And I think that's maybe the biggest problem. And I totally agree with Emilie and Robin, is that don't ask how, ask why.
Right.
Like Matti said, that think why you're photographing, and I think that might lead up to narrowing you down, like many of you have already mentioned here. And I think that's the problem, that there are too many options.
Right. Yeah, just focus, basically. Okay.
Yeah.
How
And
about
there was one comment to Robin. I have to say that it's a couple of rounds back when you said that you get inspired by smiles. So if you ever come to Finland, don't come in the winter. Nobody's smiling. It's like I'm smiling now. So come during summer if you ever end up.
Thanks for the tip, Peter.
Yeah.
Wow. How about you, Jimmy? What do you think people are missing, or what do you think is missing in photography?
It's gonna be hard now, and I agree, Robin, Emilie, and Peter, and but in particular, I think Emilie raised the point about people like photography. To most people these days, especially for younger photographers and newer photographers, is that to get likes. Their purpose is to get likes more than actually like appreciating the craft of photography to generate a great image. But I have a flip side for that, though, and I mean, I know this is how the YouTube, not YouTube, I mean, Instagram or even Facebook's algorithm works about likes and consistencies, the curated theme or colors and whatever, like all kinds of things. In a way, that actually helps a photographer to narrow a field or a style that they may want to present, so that in effect creating the voice of a photographer, what type of photographer you are, what sort of thing you actually enjoy doing. And if you like to do multiple genre photographies, and you can have one account for portrait, one account for street, one account for astro, and so yeah, that might work. But that besides the point. But I think you're quite right there. A lot of people now posting photos only purely to get likes, and they misinterpret likes for being likes is the amount of likes equal to the quality of the photograph itself, which is totally wrong. I mean, I have seen like a lot of photographs that has thousands, if not tens of thousands of likes, but it's not actually any better than a poorly lit shot that's shot by a 3-year-old, and then it just doesn't really make sense. But that's a general problem that we see on a daily basis now. A lot of the photographers don't really understand that like doesn't mean anything. I've seen so many great, absolutely great photographs that has only 1 or 2 likes, It doesn't mean that it's a bad photograph. It isn't. Just because this guy may not be connected to the community, may not be connected to the wider audience as it needs to be. And so I think that it's not really fair to judge a photograph based on likes itself. And that this is something that a misconception that many new photographers now fall into this rabbit hole now. Is unfortunately unfortunate, and I hope that they really soon would find out that isn't what photography is all about.
Yeah, that's true. I think social media by design and by their science is designed, for likes and hitting that dopamine level in your brain. I mean, there's published papers on why social media is the way it is, but ultimately it's a distraction, and people are definitely missing the point of photography, right? As I think what you're trying to say. Uh, don't be distracted by social media, but focus and concentrate on what photography is. It's not about likes, really, right?
No.
Okay, Emilie.
I'm just gonna replay everybody's answer and
Okay.
no. But I feel like Jimmy is completely right. There is that obsession about like, and I think we really need to break free. No, pun intending, because that's kind of the OM system logo. We need to break free, and that's what we're doing. We need to break free and make sure that photography is not going to be that socially constructed art. No, you're doing this for yourself. You are an individual, and you know what? If you take a photo and this photo makes you happy and you put it in your living room and that's it, great. I think you achieve exactly what you should achieve as a photographer. You're doing something for yourself. And if it connects with an audience afterward, perfect. Those are bonuses. But I think your goal should be to do something that makes you happy and detach yourself from all those likes, because those likes are what is going to pollute your photography, pollute yourself as a photographer, corrupt your creativity, corrupt your creative mind. And that's where it starts to be dangerous. And that's where we're losing our individualism, we're losing ourselves as a photographer, and we entering into those boxes of this is what my photo should look like. No, that's not because this is a photo that has a lot of like that you should reproduce the same. I want to hear your story. I don't want to hear the story of someone else when I'm looking at a photo. So you need to break free. You need to distance yourself from the social media.
Wow, that's pretty powerful message there. It kind of takes what Jimmy was saying a little further. Jimmy was saying social media is kind of a distraction, but you've kind of added. You're saying it's kind of dangerous to your photography.
It has a lot of positive if you know how to use them. But I think we've seen people who are started to be, it can be mentally very challenging. And if you get absorbed into social media, then I think it can really injure your art because of the pressure.
Right. If you take the pressure off of social media, because it's easy to be yourself and express yourself, right? That's easy.
Yep.
But it's hard to be on social media if you were trying to get likes, things like that. I mean, and I'm speaking really generally, not even just as a photographer, but generally speaking, don't try to, adapt to what's online, but be yourself, and that'll take a lot of stress away.
Exactly. And be happy. If it's only for you, this is great.
Yeah.
You made something that you'll be able to enjoy and share with your family and share with your friends. This is great. That's the end goal. Do something that makes you happy. And if it makes other people happy, then great. Those are bonuses. But I think the end goal is doing things that you like to do and makes you happy.
Okay. Wow. That's great. Thank you. And okay, Matti, how about you? What do you think's missing, or what do you think photographers are missing?
Okay, what I'm going to say probably overlaps a little bit with what's being said already, but I think we're missing passion for photography in general. People are passionate about sensor sizes. They passionately argue which sensor size is the best instead of passionately thinking about the next picture. And I think that is a problem. And let's say I use for example, my Sony camera in my next video. Some Micro Four Thirds people refuse to watch it because I'm using a Sony camera, which I think is stupid because I may still have something valuable to share. Or it could be that I'm using a Micro Four Thirds camera and then Sony photographers refuse to watch because I'm using a wrong camera. And I think it's just the wrong way to think about things, because I think it's all about photography and it should not be so much about the gear and the sharpness and everything. And I have a favorite question that I always like to ask. How many pictures you have seen, great pictures that are great only because they are sharp? And how many great pictures have you seen that are great, but they are not tack sharp? They are actually blurry, downright blurry. And I bet you have seen many pictures that are not tack sharp. They're great pictures, but at least I haven't seen many pictures that are great only because they are tack sharp from corner to corner. So I think we should be more passionate about photography and care less about the gear and the camera brands and sensor sizes and all that.
Yeah, definitely. It's really, no matter what camera you shoot, it's not about the gear, it's about the photography. And sometimes you forget that because you spend a very tangible thing, money, for a tangible item, a camera. So it's easy for us to focus on those tangible things and forget about the what, the why we're doing it, right? Why are we spending this money and getting this gear? What's it all about? And I'm certainly guilty of that. I spent, God, hours and hours last night debating if I should get the 25 millimeter f1.4 from Panasonic. When
Yes, you should get it.
You really should. It's really good.
Yeah,
But
I know.
you're doing this to make you happy.
I agree.
I watched Emilie's video and Maddie's video on it, and then of course a few others, but and I watched them more than once, and I spent all this time looking at it, and then I have to think about why am I getting it? Why am I going to invest this money? And then I ended up not getting it because I was like, I have 3 or 4 25 millimeters already. What will it add? Give me a faster shutter speed in low light? Yeah. Give me more depth of field? Maybe slightly, but if I want that, I'll get the 45 or the 75, for that. So I couldn't think of a reason why to get that lens. I just had this terrible gas to get it. So I think everything you guys have said, and again, I've taken so many notes, and I'm going to definitely rewatch this for myself. I hope many of the viewers do as well. So much great advice and stories that you guys have told today about photography and being a better photographer, getting out of slumps, and what are people missing? That's it's really amazing. I'm just floored by everyone's answers. So let me turn the questions to the viewers. I'm sorry this is going on a little longer than I hoped, or expected. So I'm going to scroll back up to 10 minutes ago to 10:47.
Well, happy to be here, Rob. Don't worry about
yeah.
time.
I'm very grateful. You guys have always been...
I'll go get some more water. I'll be right back.
Okay. Wow, so many comments here. Okay, 10:47.
Rob, I will have to bear in about 10 minutes.
Okay. All right, so I will. Okay, here's a quick one here. I heard that the GH6 25 megapixel resolves most MFT lenses. Do you think it makes sense to make a higher resolution MFT camera? Who'd like to take this one?
Rob, there's some audio problem. I don't know if anyone here echoes.
There is a problem.
Yeah,
Oh,
there's
okay.
echo.
Yeah, I think that it's when Peter left.
I think he
It's
took
Peter's
off
fault.
his now he's-
Well, think about it. If you put his microphone down near the speaker, that would
Can you
affect all
mute
of
Peter?
Well, I will. I think if we somebody who wants to take this, and then all of us will mute our mics. How about you, Emily? You take it.
I was so afraid you were going to say that.
Oh dear.
I think that question a little bit over my head.
Peter, can you come back?
We'll wait just a minute for Peter. Because that echo is pretty harsh.
Rob, can you not mute him remotely?
Oh, yeah, I can mute Peter.
Hey.
Okay.
Hey!
There you go.
Yeah.
Hey!
Good idea.
Where did he go for that water? That felt like he was gone for ages. Is he gone to...
Yeah, he went out there,
He needs to unfreeze the water.
Could one of you technical ladies or gentlemen please take that question for me?
All right, who wants to take this one? How about Jimmy?
I can say something.
Okay, Matti, go, Matti.
First of all, it says I heard. Well, what does that mean? I mean, it doesn't mean basically anything. Someone said something, speculation. I don't think the GH5 outresolves most Micro Four Thirds lenses. My opinion, not a fact. And I definitely think it makes sense to make a higher resolution camera. I don't think it's true. My opinion, not a fact, but I don't think it's true that the GH6 outresolves most Micro Four Thirds. Maybe it can outresolve some lenses, but not all. Robin?
Yes, Micro Four Thirds was the first mirrorless system, right, from Olympus and Panasonic, and the lenses are designed from ground up, meaning that it was optimized for digital use. It was not like adapted from an old technology. So all these lenses are digital lenses. And to prove that point, we do have high resolution shots in both Olympus and Panasonic camera bodies where the sensors are being shifted and the pixels are being, I want to say interpolated, but that's not the right word. They are being merged together to achieve higher resolution. So, but we don't get the full resolution. So meaning that if all the movements and all the images are being merged together, we don't get, say, the full 80 or 120 megapixels, although we get, say, 80 megapixel RAW, but the quality is more like maybe 50-ish megapixels. So there is an optical limit, but the optical limit far surpasses 26 megapixels, if you ask me. I would say it will hit maybe about 40 or 50. That's just my educated guess.
Thank you. That was really entertaining and educational for me.
Oh no, Rob,
You've muted yourself, Rob.
No, I think the question kind of stems from, the manufacturers are creating like these very high resolution cameras, and then they come out with a list of lenses that'll work with the higher resolution. So then it comes to mind, well, what about Micro Four Thirds? is it going to have the same issue where the lenses cannot resolve every single pixel on the camera? And as Robin said, that's not really the case. We're not even close yet. So,
and also I think it's quite an academic question, and in reality is, the photograph itself is a very, very different thing. And even more so if you print your own photographs. If you do print them, it's a totally different story altogether. And how big you print a photo, how far you're viewing them from distance, everything counts. And the quality of printing, the texture of the paper that you use, everything is coming to equation. And so this sort of questions it's useful for technical reasons, but as a photographer yourself, and only you would know whether these sort of resolutions or whether the lenses have enough resolutions or sensor, vice versa, would have an impact on your photography, and that would probably be a better way of putting it, I think.
Yeah, and I think this addresses actually the other question. If someone would ask me what I think's missing in photography, is people are not printing anymore. People need to print more.
Hey, I've got prints here.
Yeah. Robin's Magazine, yeah. So here's another one. Who'd like to take this one about how can...
I can take that one.
Okay, and Peter, your microphone somehow is messing up everyone else.
Oh, really? Now, let me see if I...
You sound like a Dalek. That's so cool.
Oh,
Yeah.
I don't know what's wrong.
But
Say exterminate.
something is wrong.
Yeah. Still have the same microphone like I had.
But it started when you went to get some more water.
Yeah. Is it okay now?
No.
No, I think the microphone needs a drink.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
I could have a bash on the AI photography while we're figuring that out, if that's okay. Yeah, I really enjoy any technology developments within photography. I'm very much not a purist in the sense, like, I don't think over editing a photo makes it no longer a photo. I think as long as you click the button and you're editing it, it's still your work. I love using Midjourney. You can just type in text prompts and it creates beautiful artwork. And I think AI in terms of photo editing is really interesting as well. I think it makes noise reduction better. Sky replacement can be a little bit fun, a little bit gimmicky. I think any tools that we have are always a good thing, and any developments are always a good thing. But I think it's always how the individual uses them and interprets them, rather than it being sort of like you type photograph and it's a generic thing. It's got to be still your style to use these tools.
Okay.
Can I also add something?
Oh, okay, go ahead.
Like, I kind of agree with Emilie up there. Whatever makes you happy. And for example, if you document your own life, family pictures, you don't need any AI. And there are so many. I myself, when I take my street photos, I consider them as documents on the street. And I don't care if someone else uses AI. It's nothing away from me and from my photography. And sometimes I use those AI-driven apps that remove noise and something. So I don't think you need to combat or compete with AI. Just shoot the photos that make you happy and use the processes that work for you. That's what I have to say.
Okay. How about Peter? Did we get our mic working?
I don't know.
Yep.
Is it?
Yay! You sound beautiful.
Rightos. Whoa. Yeah, it was probably because they're running low. What I've always said about AI is, of course, it's a good tool to help you, for example, image editing and all that. But the whole image making or image generating is another thing. But to be honest, and brutal honesty stuff, there are going to be two types of photographers: those who survive and use AI, and those who don't. They won't survive in the future. I think AI is the thing. There's already one Finnish advertising photographer who has done a lot of work for clients with AI, and they've made whole galleries of their workers doing things totally AI. He's trained the AI to make the faces or make the characters correct, and then they can put them anywhere. And it is in a way scary, but to be honest, if you're a professional, I would look into it.
Okay, so
I would agree too. I think commercially AI is definitely a very useful tool, and also a cost-saving tools for many type of photography, especially in commercial scenes. And that you, for instance, location generations is absolutely fantastic. You don't have to physically travel to locations, save you a lot of money in terms of that regard. And and also like for my type of work as well at the moment, and Adobe Lightroom, okay, it's not great for AI stuff, but I do starting to introduce AI for their masking, which is actually a very useful tool for my line of work. I used to have to trace like subjects myself, on Photoshop, and then we input them back to Lightroom, and that's an hours of process. But nowadays is as a quite an easy subject recognition, a button. It just does it in a few seconds. And of course, it's not 100%. You just have to fine tune it, but the bulk of the work is done for you. So that is fantastic news for commercial photographer. As an art form, however, I still think pure photography is something that you can't replace, and is your emotion in it, your story, is everything's yours. You generated it, and so it's a very two type of thing. But like what Peter just said, I think that you have to embrace it, because AI is definitely here and it's here to stay, and it's only going to improve and get better over time.
Yeah. For example, today I woke up at 6 a.m. and went to shoot a music video, and the band wanted a old medieval castle. So with their budget, we did some green screening, and we will generate the backgrounds with AI or some stock footage. We will see what probably blending that stuff. So that's
interesting.
It's a
so
big
basically
part
we have to embrace it.
I think we have to. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I would. The only thing I would add to the conversation on the commercial side is on a legal basis. There's a lot of things that you cannot just do AI with. You have to legally represent the product, and it has to be the product, not an AI generated version of the product when you're doing advertising and things of that product. So by law, a lot of times you have to show exactly what it is you're selling or promoting, and not an AI generated version of it. So if I take a picture of a building, they can't just say generate an AI version of it. I have to go out and physically take a picture of it to show potential buyers the actual property.
What about furniture? Because we see a lot of that they
for staging and things you can do that. That's definitely you can add. That's where you have to embrace it, right?
Yeah,
and it certainly is a time saver and adds a lot of value to your product, your what you sell. But certainly there are certain things that AI will never, from a legal standpoint, unless the laws change, will never replace product type photography, where you have to show the product, the exact product, and not some generated version of it. But okay, so I had the next
Rob. I have to go, and thank you for having me.
Thanks
and
for coming
it's been
in.
a great pleasure to see everyone again. It's our yearly meet, and so your hard work is definitely valuable. Thank you for organizing this, and thank you all for joining this chat room today, and it's been a great fun. Just before I go, and just on the AI subject, I'll leave it to you guys to answer. And since we talk about AI images and things like that, so that at the moment we can't photograph Eiffel Tower at night because of legal reasons. So what if you generate a nighttime image of the Eiffel Tower through AI? Is it legal or not legal? I'll leave it with you guys. Have fun, guys. Bye now.
All right.
Bye.
Bye, Jimmy.
All right,
Bye, Jimmy.
Bye,
Take
Jimmy.
care.
Hey.
I think we should demonstrate, right? That's what French people, I'm from France, so that's what we do. We're not happy with this. Let's go down in the street and reclaim that.
Yes. But you're in the U.S. now, right, Emily?
I am. I have dual citizenship.
That's awesome. So here's one. What do you think is a good budget 17 1.8? How about well, okay, I'll answer this one. The 17 millimeter f1.8 from Olympus is great, and I think another good option is the Panasonic Leica 15 millimeter. It's also excellent for street photography. It's an f1.7. So those are the two. That I wouldn't call those budgets. There's a 17 2.8 from Olympus Pancake that I think Robin has done reviews on, and he seemed to like that lens. Anyone else have any other?
Yeah, I've tried the TT Artisans 17 mil, and it looks gorgeous. It's metal build quality. It's a really interesting looking lens with a manual aperture ring, manual focus. It is a fully manual focus lens, but it's super affordable, and I really enjoyed using it for street photography. Yeah, sometimes it makes you think a bit more when you've got a manual lens.
Yeah. I forgot the word budget when in the question there. But
yeah, that's 17 mil, the Olympus one. It just doesn't drop in price. It's such a good lens.
There's a question, Emilie. Did you see that from Roman K in the chat?
Is there anything?
Very good question. Very important.
Yeah, I think we always have a chat on Instagram, and yeah, it's like, oh, you've tripped and fell and bought something else, haven't you, Emilie? Yes, I have. Sorry.
So Corey wants to know what's the best for Emilie. What's the best Micro Four Thirds camera to sneak into a concert?
Right. In the UK, this has started to really annoy me. If you get searched and find that you have an interchangeable lens, no matter the size, they will sometimes make you go to the cloakroom and put your bag away. It's really annoying. You used to have so much more leeway. So what I've been doing is using the Pancake lens, just the flat one, and putting it on a smaller camera body, and then it just looks like a point and shoot. I'm like, this? I won't take any good pictures with this. It's terrible. And then I've got like a 2.8 35 to 100 in my back pocket. So yeah, I would say the Olympus body cap lenses on the most incognito camera body you have, and then put your actual lens elsewhere.
Oh, interesting. So divide and conquer.
Divide and conquer.
Okay. Here's one for Peter. I do photography for myself, so do not worry if my shots never make it the grade. Just enjoy getting out with. Oh, shoot, that wasn't the question.
Yeah, but it well said, anyways, on that.
Yeah. Sorry, I just saw the @Peter, so I assumed it's a question. Let's see here. Social. I'm so behind on the chat.
That's good. That means we've had lots of comments and stuff. That's awesome.
Yeah, there's so many.
While Rob is going through the questions, just now on the topic of lighting, one of the tips on improving photography. I have this friend whom I always follow too on the street. He's an amazing street photographer. His name is Amir Sharif, and he has a quote for street photography, which I also believe. He says, "Don't follow your heart, follow the light." Yeah. When you do street photography, I totally believe him.
That's true. I do that a lot. Yeah,
if you find also a saying, I think it was the Swedish photographer Anders Pettersen who said that shoot with your gut. So it depends on your style.
True, very true.
Yeah, it's hard because some of it, I get so technical about the camera sometimes, whether it's the settings or the features, and you forget about why you're there sometimes or what you're taking a picture of, right? Kostov, this one's for me. How does a beginning photographer avoid influence of software editing and filters which actually affect the individual creator's style? All photos look the same. Yeah, just process the images raw, or just don't use any filters. Try to find, let's say there's a filter that you like in particular. Try to find those things in real life. That's all I would tell you. If you like particular color combinations, see what conditions in real life would create that and try and take it, so you don't need to use a filter. That's not a great answer, but I get it. When things online, and this goes back to the social media, everything starts to look the same. I mean, how many images do we need of a long shadow in a street photography, or another sunset, or
yes,
and then these filters, people start applying filters to try to make the same thing look different. And this goes back to the lipstick on a pig idea, right? You know, we've just seen this so many times, and putting in a filter on it doesn't make it your own or creative, right? So to be unique, try to find things in real life that have interesting color combinations or light and shadow combinations, that applying a filter to it might make it worse. Okay.
And also, you know, invest in your education. Go and take a class on Lightroom, learn how to create your own presets, and just make it your own.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. Like, there's no harm in buying people's presets, but do it and have a look at what made that happen, and then you can do it from scratch and take a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and knowing how it works is the important step. That's the step that a lot of people miss, and why things do tend to look quite similar.
Yeah. Robin, so before you gave away your EM1 Mark III, did you get a chance to compare those images to your new OM1?
Hey Pete, nice to see you here. No, I didn't compare the EM1 Mark III to the OM1. I decided to give it away on the same day. Actually gave it away on the same day that I received the OM1. So I got the OM1, and then I called my friend and said, hey, I got a camera for you. Let's meet up after your work. And I gave the camera away to him. The reason I did that was because EM1 Mark III has the same image sensor as the EM5 Mark III, which I still have. And also the same image sensor as the EM1 Mark II. I don't have the EM1 Mark II with me now because my EM1 Mark II is with another friend he borrowed to do some projects. So if I want to compare the image quality, OM1 versus EM1 Mark III, I can use the EM5 Mark III or the EM1 Mark II. They gave the same results, so
Right.
No worries.
Okay, that makes sense.
And I can always take back the EM1 Mark III just for a few days for my friend. I'm sure he'll allow me.
Yeah. There was a question here for Emilie Talpin about the flash hood or something that you use.
The diffuser?
Yeah, the flash hood you have work with all Ali macro lenses.
Yes, actually, this one works with the 60 and new 90mm macro. Although I think Zamir at AK Diffuser is building a new one because it's slightly long. I mean, it's longer. I don't use it with the 90mm macro, the 30mm macro, but the 60 and 90, it works well. I love this diffuser. It's very well made. You can break it down, take it with you. Yes, if you're doing macro photography, flash diffuser, highly recommend it. You get the best results if you can't use natural light.
Okay, and you've done a review on that or talked about that in one of your videos, right?
I do, yes. I have a whole review on the AK diffuser, and if you have any questions, just send them my way. But I've been using this diffuser for quite a few months now, and I love it. It goes with me everywhere. But I started with my own. I made my own with cardboard box, aluminum foil, and towel paper. That works actually really, really well. If you don't have a budget for a diffuser, make one. I also have another video on how to make one. It's a great learning experience.
And I guess we'll just do a quick, this will be a lightning round question. What was your first camera and do you shoot film? Robin?
Kodak C3000. It's a compact point-and-shoot digital, 3 megapixels, no manual controls. Everything is automated, horrible image quality. No, I don't shoot film.
Okay. Emilie?
My first semi-real camera was a Sony bridge camera, and then I sort of worked my way up the Sony line to the A7, and then jump ship to Micro Four Thirds. I've shot film in retrospect, but not at the time.
Okay. How about Emilie Talpin?
I honestly cannot remember because I probably stole it from my dad when I was very young. And I shoot the professional mode as well. I had no idea what I was doing. But I think, since I got the Mark II was really the camera that made the biggest impact. So that's kind of the one I would prefer to highlight, because I felt like before that, it did not have an impact with me. I think it's kind of funny to think about it, because you all seem to have, like in a bird photography, we say you have a spark bird. And I think the spark camera, in a way, is the one that I want to mention. That's the one that's the most memorable to me. So the EM1 Mark II. And I actually have the film camera. I have the OM2, and I need to get into film photography. I really want to do that, so that's on my thing to do for this year.
Okay. Matti, lightning round.
I don't remember what was my first camera. I think it was one of those Agfa point and shoot cameras that shoots I think it's 1/26 size film or something. It's like a cassette. It's not like a 35mm film.
Right.
I think it was one of those cameras back in I think 1975 or something like that. And I do shoot film occasionally still. Right now when I'm traveling, it's too unpractical. I don't have any film cameras with me, but when I get back to Finland, I'm sure I'll shoot some film again, and I shoot it occasionally.
Okay. Peter, first camera, and do you shoot film?
Well, I had a similar camera that Matti has. It was called Aquamatic. So Aqua.
Yes,
camera.
yes.
So, yeah, that's probably the same type of camera, and I think I got it when I was like 7 years old or something. And just I still have one of my first photographs over there, which is, of course, I'm very proud of it. It's crappy, but
Peter,
it is.
Peter, did it take square pictures, I think?
Yes.
Yeah.
Square pictures,
Interesting.
yes. And no, I don't really use film or shoot film, because I've done film photography as a professional, and, all that darkroom stuff. And
you're done.
It's kind of like not for me. Maybe I have some film cameras, and I'm planning on shooting maybe next summer just to keep them fresh.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
that they don't just collect dust, but that remains to be seen.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. I like to shoot film. My first camera was a compact S100. My first interchangeable camera was a Sony NEX6. And I still shoot film time to time. Okay. And then last question, and we'll wrap it up with this one. Lightning round. Your primary photo editing software, Robin.
Capture One Pro.
Okay. Emilie?
Lightroom.
How about Emilie Talpin?
Lightroom.
Matti?
Lightroom.
Okay. How about Peter?
Ta-da! Lightroom.
Wow, primary. Okay. For me, it's
classic
Photolab.
actually. Or classic, yeah.
Yeah,
but,
the classic.
But I do use a lot of plugins.
Yes.
You probably have heard about Photoshop, for example. It's a great plugin for Lightroom, and then I use sometimes Luminar Neo and DxO software too.
Yeah, there's a lot of great options. I've converted completely to Photolab myself for editing. I still have to use Lightroom time to time in Photoshop, but so now Lightroom and Photoshop act like plugins for my Photolab 6, because Lightroom has the HDR and panoramic, right?
Yeah.
That Photolab does not. So now it's kind of opposite.
But for me, like anybody probably is that the Lightroom is kind of like the hub where all the images kind of like set, and you have the database, and then just go,
Yeah, that's the Achilles heel of Lightroom is once you start using their database feature or management features, it's hard to break out of that.
It is, yes.
But it's good. It's good. The archival system, or
it is.
Whatever you call it, it's very good in Lightroom.
Yeah.
And then you also have on the go, like I edit on my phone or on my tablet, and Snapseed is free and it's amazing. So if you don't want to invest and you do on the go editing, Snapseed.
Yes. Yep. I hate using my phone for anything, but okay, that was awesome. So I'm gonna leave it to you guys to give a last word to our audience. Any last words, Robin?
I'm gonna say something I don't say a lot. Make a photo book. Go print a photograph. Choose the best 30, 40 photographs, put them together, and you'll learn a lot about yourself, about your photography, what you like, what you don't like, and maybe even improve some of your compositions and make you think more next time you go and shoot. And photo books are not expensive. I think it's a good way to explore photography and make it more
Yeah.
fun.
And definitely makes you think more about your photographs and organizing them, and
Yes.
it's definitely really definitely something I'm looking forward to do. How about
Yes.
Emilie?
I can't believe that this is like our annual thing and we still have such a lovely community. And I just want
Yeah.
to say thank you to everyone who's got an interest still after all this time. And thank you for people that pop over to my channel and everybody else's. And I do honestly think we have the biggest heart of any photography community on YouTube, because we're actually about the photography and not about the pixel peeping and the specs so much. It's just a really passionate community. And I just wanted to say thank you.
Yeah. I would definitely would like to re- uh, repeat
What she
that.
said.
Yeah, repeat it. But go ahead, Emilie Talpin, ET.
ET. I would say just, find your inspiration, go out there, shoot. And I want to also thank everybody for joining. Thanks for the invite, Rob. Thanks to all of you as well, because you've been really big inspiration. And I really appreciate all that you've done for all of us. So, yes, just go out there, enjoy, take some photo, and be happy with what you're taking.
All right. Thank you, Emilie. And Maddie, any last words?
I'm just gonna say also that go out, take pictures, and enjoy photography. Like this probably would have been Robin's words, but anyway, I quote Robin. And thanks for having me. It was a blast and pleasure again. And hope we can do this again in the sometime in the future.
Yes. Yes. And thank you, Maddie. Peter, last
Well,
words?
I would say that try to make the best out of your existing gear. So don't be, wanting all the stuff. You won't be better. You will be better if you start learning your own gear. And then the second thing, if you ever want to visit Helsinki, the best time is to visit next August, when me and I think it's on that side, wherever is Matti, we will have a workshop.
Yes.
More info about. You can check out our channels and find some
Awesome.
more info.
Awesome. All right. Well, everyone.
I would like to add something.
Yes.
Guys, please buy Rob Track a cup or more coffee. Right?
Yeah.
If you want to see this, more of us together doing something, support Rob Track. You can do that, and we will come back here and do more for you guys.
Oh my God. Thank you.
Yes.
You're too kind, Robin. You always say that. I appreciate that. But really what makes all of this work is you guys. It's really not me. I'm just sort of the tool, right? But you guys are the actual photographers, the passion in photography, the enthusiasm and experience that all of you share is just invaluable. And today has been an especially really good day, I think, for everyone out there that had an opportunity to watch this either now or after. I took so many notes today from the stream, and I hope all of you did as well. And so thank you everyone for sharing your knowledge, your enthusiasm, and love for photography and Micro Four Thirds as a system. I think, I couldn't be happier that all of us could get together again today. And Jimmy, who left recently, thank you so much for being here today. And I hope to have all of you back on either individually or as a group in the near future. So thanks again for coming in today, and I'll see you guys again if next year, if not sooner.
All right.
Sooner, hopefully sooner.
All right.
Thanks, Rob. Thanks for taking this.
Thanks,
you have
Rob.
a lot of work behind the scenes. I can imagine you're not just there you're doing a lot of. I know how it is when you do live streams. You get so many different things going on. So thank you so much.
All right. Thanks
Thanks.
again.